My name is Leif Pierre, and I'm the head of innovation here at Playtime Co. If you're seeing this, you must be very, very lost. All right. Let's be honest. You're not supposed to be here. This is the single most high security, high clearance section of the whole factory. When someone finds you down here, you will be shot. And before you get any ideas, don't think you can just sneak away either. No, the second you put this tape in, it set off an alarm. So if anyone's home, they know exactly where you are. Pretty nifty, huh? Security is very important to us here. If I were you, I'd start running.
You know, I remember a time, not too long ago.
Hello everybody, and welcome to Let's Play Cry of Fear.
Top of the morning to you laddies! My name is Jacksepticeye, and welcome to Limbo.
What's up YouTube, what's going on? Corey Kinchin here, and welcome to Mad Father. This game...
When it felt like indie game development was the beating heart of online horror.
Oh, what are you? Oh god! Ah! Ah! What the fuck? Ah! What the fuck is hell?
Jesus fucking Christ!
I remember when Five Nights at Freddy's was seen as the scariest game in years. I remember when Bendy and the Ink Machine popularized the chapter format. Not a day goes by where I don't wish horrible things to happen to whoever popularized this stupid fucking format for video games. God damn it. I remember the original indie horror game that sparked the first fan works, entirely built off of its own engine. I think the indie game scene, especially indie horror, is a special part of the internet that invites all walks of life to one commonly shared experience. We all love screaming at jump scares in video games. Indie horror hasn't just given us some of the best scares and thrills in ages, but has also massively inspired others to create. The bar is constantly being pushed to new limits, and the monsters to come will be cemented in pop culture as icons of the horror genre, standing on par with even the legends of cinema history. But what makes a horror game experience a bit more intense and exciting than just watching a movie is the fact that you, the player, are surviving within the horror experience. You control what happens, so the horror is personally happening to you. That is why first-person horror games are so effective in this scene. It puts the player front and center of the action. Indie horror may have had a surge in popularity and namesake in the 2010s, but it's been around for a while, and it really sparked in popularity in the Let's Play scene as something new and different to entice an audience to a game that wasn't a AAA title, but rather a smaller development team or even like a singular person that created something from the ground up. And in some cases, generate more scares, more iconic monsters, and more entertainment than, say, a giant game studio. For a lot of those in the scene, independent development comes with a personal challenge to see if you can make something from nothing with no restriction or guidelines, and also probably picking up RPG Maker for the first time. And it's kind of humanizing to think about how these products of nostalgia, for me, were made at the hands of just some bored game developer that didn't want to work under some big game development team and put something together through pure, unlimited creativity and drive. It's no wonder, even after all this time, that indie horror is still respected and hyped up to this day. But something weird was happening going into 2015. It was during the rise of Five Nights at Freddy's popularity in an effort to mayhaps replicate that success. It was during this time that developers found a goldmine, an algorithmic explosion for their projects. And all they had to do was just cater to the right crowd. Children! Wait, what? heavily invested in indie horror, watching both PewDiePie and Markiplier's Let's Plays. I was both a child in middle school, but also paranoid as fuck, because back then, horror wasn't all black toys and rainbows as it is today. I was deep in creepypasta shit, so it was actually just like hyper-realistic blood and cartoon characters killing themselves. And Slender Man.
Convinced he was real, they stabbed Lightner 19 times, leaving her for dead in the woods, hoping to impress Slender Man.
As you can tell, I grew up just fine. Given that, as a child, I was watching Amnesia, Outlast, and SCP Scream compilation number 267, what I am now seeing people play or watch gameplay of nowadays, it really just makes me sit back and wonder, like, hey, where's all the blood? Okay, that's not the question. That would be an insane thing to ask. What I'm actually asking is, why is everything so cute? Like, I grew up shitting my pants to this. But apparently the new scariest monsters that are making people lose their minds and piss in fear are Wendy's, Grover on fentanyl, Pink Gumby, the Play-Doh I ate and shat out in perfect condition when I was 5, and an anorexic blue cat. Why is everything so colorful? You know how in FNAF, we never actually see anything horrifically graphic happen? And in some ways, most of FNAF's horror elements comes from the implied horror of its story. Well, when I was a kid, I was watching Outlast Let's Play, and I watched this guy named Eddie Gluskin cut someone clean down the grundle. We are not the same. Okay, but in all seriousness, I do think that there are some positive things to come out of expanding the demographic of horror to be more inclusive to all age groups. For one, it gives more leeway in creating terror in different environments that aren't just like dark, creepy, scary woods, or dark, creepy mental hospital, or dark, creepy house, or dark, creepy city. It actually gives the opportunity to try and find horror in the most unlikely places, like a children's pizzeria, or a toy factory, or a cute little pink pixel game. It's kind of a cool subversion of expectation that actually leads to more creative ways of being scary in an environment that is not conventionally scary. I think also putting horror in the greater narrative of context clues and lore elements, rather than being like outright in-your-face disturbing, actually is beneficial to people's media literacy skills. And putting these clues together to make the imagination run wild with what horrors are actually going on here. I think the horrifying manifestations of what the human mind can come up with through just theory crafting is a great way to gauge horror, by allowing your audience to generate the horror in their own head instead of outright showing them. It's a great implication of show don't tell. And when trying to make something that welcomes all audiences, including younger audiences, a lot of showing and dropping hints to what is going on, rather than directly be disturbing with something graphic, is not only more engaging, but also more fun to speculate on as a community. And, you know, as someone who, even when I was like 8 years old and like Coraline was my favorite movie ever, and honestly like Coraline is borderline a horror movie for children, I say this from my own personal experience that there are kids who are interested in horror, that even like horror. Even if, for the longest time, horror has been kind of marketed as something for adults, I don't think that there's anything wrong with introducing horror elements into kids' media, or even creating horror media with a younger demographic in mind. When you think about it, how, you know, indie horror has been discovered and engaged with throughout the years, through Let's Play channels that garner a younger audience, to even back when creepypasta was big and attracted middle school me, horror media has always been an attractive, new, edgy genre for those going through experimental and progressive maturity phases in their life. And with that newfound teen angst and edge, horror becomes a safe space to explore the things you fear. The world is already like full of so many scary things that you can't comprehend or understand. And even as an adult, I am still mortified of the incomprehension of the existence of everything. And so horror is a good way to make sense of something inherently terrifying and unknown, which explains why young people would like it so much. They're not just safely conquering hypothetical terror, but also making sense of it. It's a build of endurance and character, and who's to say that that's a bad thing? With that being said though, these aren't horror games. These are spooky games for babies. I miss Eddie Gluskin cutting peepees off. Give me petrifying gay shit. So I'm sure if you were paying attention to my previous comparison examples, or you're just reading the title of the video, you know where this is going. I want to talk about Poppy Playtime, a series that I kind of have a love-hate relationship with. While there are great horror elements in Poppy Playtime and great horror moments and monsters, I think on a constructive level, Poppy Playtime is a fucking mess. And it's really disappointing because initially it didn't start out that way. When the first chapter dropped and we saw Huggy Wuggy emerge from the darkness and chase you through the cramped, claustrophobic vents, I have to admit, that kinda got me the first time. Huggy and the build-up to his reveal as a monster was extremely well done. But in the 4 years since the first game, Poppy Playtime has been through a lot of development. Now we have 4 chapters, with chapter number 5 coming next year, each giving us a new cast of characters, a TV head doctor, robot teachers, beanie babies, yarn lion, the hungry caterpillar, rabbit ain't gonna sleep cause of y'all, so you ain't gonna sleep cause of rabbit, and a weird doll, who you forget this entire game is named after, actually. Also, I guess the other mother is here. What the fuck is happening? While the smart thing to do here is to wait until the release of all of the chapters to get a final game retrospective, complete with a lore breakdown, I have a tendency to not do smart things. So we're just gonna take a look at what we have today. And if anything comes out after this video's release, don't expect me to put all of this back on. I already look fucking stupid as is. So let's discuss. This is Poppy Playtime.
P-O-P-P-Y, I'm Poppy. P-O-P-P-Y, I'm Poppy. P-O-P-P-Y, I'm Poppy. P-O-P-P-Y, that's me.
So, when looking into the development of Poppy Playtime and the people behind the project, I was surprised to learn that before the blue-noodled arm monster with teeth, before this Wendy's-looking ass doll, before all this Toy Factory lore nonsense, Zach and Seth Bellinger were just 2 brothers with a dream. A dream to make Minecraft animations. Before Mob Entertainment became an independent game studio, Enchanted Mob was the YouTube channel that was part of a popular genre of 3D animation at the time. Minecraft animation channels are a rabbit hole in its own right, but all you need to know right now is that Enchanted Mob is one of the top contenders in the genre, having one of the biggest channels and some of the most popular videos. Seth was the main animator of the channel for a while, and it was primarily his brother Zach that ran management. And Zach ran Enchanted Mob as his own kind of project label, in which other channels would umbrella under as a sort of related separate project. One of those popular projects include Zam Animation, the biggest and currently the most active channel. Zam Animation is run by a different set of brothers, one who is also named Zach, and the other is Micah Preciado. In addition to collaborations on projects together, the decision was made in 2020 to incorporate Zam Animation into Enchanted Mob as a kind of subsidiary project. Now, since both channels rely on Minecraft and 3D pixel art as the stylization choice of animation, you'd think that a lot of their videos would center around Minecraft, you know? The game. And in the beginning now being like 10 years ago, God, I am fucking old, Minecraft was the main focus. But in modern times, Zam and Enchanted Mob have been incorporating other popular media within their Minecraft style, primarily Five Nights at Freddy's, more specifically getting their big break with music videos of FNAF fan songs such as Survive the Night. Also, apparently making weird shipping content with indie horror characters with, how you say, Circus Baby being their subject of eye candy.
There's no place, oh.
Then why did you draw him like this?
Which is weird because
That's a minor.
And while I guess since their own games are now popular, you might as well just throw Poppy Playtime in there too. And Amazing Digital Circus for some reason, I guess. Apparently there's a partnership with... What is happening? So yeah, these guys have Minecraft and indie animation in a vice grip. I mean, and not to sound rude, but like, most of what they make is really just like kiddie content slop that your kid stumbles upon when you put an iPad in their face and YouTube is on autoplay.
9 months. 9 months! I could have had a baby in that time!
And there's nothing necessarily wrong with that. Like, get your bag, man. It's not like their animations are like bad. I just feel like it's being wasted a little bit. It's no wonder they are the most popular in the genre, and they also have guest star voices like Doco. So it's not like these guys are just nobodies that only cater to children. These channels are someone's childhood. People who were inspired to learn animation themselves likely looked up to the Bellingers and the Preciados, and they're probably like, man, I want to animate in that Minecraft style too. And this was the case for one aspiring creator by the name of Ekrocoaster. Okay, I'm just gonna get this out of the way because this was one of the many compound effects that made people turn on Poppy Playtime in its heyday. And although I have sympathies for Ethan, in retrospect, this whole thing is really dumb YouTube drama shit that was fought over by a bunch of stupid teenagers. Ekrocoaster was also an animator in the Minecraft space, making Minecraft fan animations for Bendy and the Ink Machine, being heavily inspired by Enchanted Mob. Around the time that Ekrocoaster was creating content, Zam and Enchanted Mob had another side project called Animation Sins, which is a CinemaSins parody and their flagship series, Everything Wrong With. But instead of movies, it was with independent animation. Now, personally, I find this format to be low-key, a little weird, and kind of mean. It's one thing to criticize the works of Hollywood and the movie industry. They have money, endless resources, unlimited access to technology, and sometimes have their projects platformed by giant corporations. Criticizing mainstream entertainment is like punching up. However, doing the same thing CinemaSins does, but like with independent artists who have no money, a skeleton crew, and just starting out learning how to animate, and then just ranking how many sins these indie animation startup projects have, it just feels really scummy, especially since the founders of this channel are popular monopolies of the genre of Minecraft animation, punching down on their own underlings and peers who looked up to them and wanted to learn animation to be just like them. And some of the things they had to say about Ekrocoaster's content specifically just felt really hostile and targeted.
I think this is a good indicator of how much effort will be put into this video. Why is the entire video blurry? Adding one sin for each out of focus shot.
Well, okay, rude.
So why is Ekrocoaster there? When did he get there? And why not use Henry, an actual character in the game? Here we go again. Where is this? Where are we? It's hard to tell if we are watching from Ekrocoaster's point of view. If we were seeing Ekrocoaster's view, why would he be zooming around the room constantly? How did Bendy even get here? I'm gonna assume that thing Bendy is standing on is supposed to be some sort of ink supporting tower thing. Adding a sin because it was poorly executed. That denoising. What were those random white planes? Inspired by Big Hero 6.
Oh my god, who the hell cares?
Especially since they put him through a sin treatment more than once. Because of this, Ethan wasn't really liked all that much by Enchanted Mob's base, most just seeing Ekrocoaster as an Enchanted Mob copycat.
Totally no inspiration for this scene.
But interestingly enough, Enchanted Mob would try and invite Ekrocoaster to be an animator for 3A Display, which is another animation side project that was founded by Enchanted Mob. You'll notice that they have a lot of like side channels and prodigy projects that all just do the same shit. Ekrocoaster was just 15 years old at the time, and the contract with 3A Display made stipulations that were not reasonable. For example, Ethan would have to only post to 3A Display, being barred from posting anything he animated to his own channel. After After denying the offer, Ethan was invited into the Zam and Enchanted Mob private Discord community, and found that they had been making fun of him and bad-mouthing him in private. Why Zach would invite this kid into a server full of references to shooting his avatar and bad-mouthing him all over this chat, beyond me, but it got progressively more and more unhinged. At some point, Enchanted Mob used an outro song that Ekrocoaster used for his own videos, and then try to flip it on Ethan as proof that he was copying their videos. This whole little bitch fit about a song isn't really that important, it's just kind of dumb Discord beef, but what it leads to is Zach Bellinger mocking this 15-year-old. Which of your videos do you want them to send next? We were thinking Fun Time Dance Floor maybe, then all of the babies story stuff. Asking you a question is not targeting, LOL. I did unsubscribe though, just being honest. I can see Seth's screen like, lol. What are you trying to do? I really don't care, please leave me alone. So all of this bad-mouthing Ethan, making videos that target his animations and labeling Ekrocoaster a copycat, just being a fucking bully in general, was all over just not wanting to join 3A display and a fucking outro song. Yes, this is really fucking dumb. What's even more interesting, and this is a factor that no one I've seen cover this ever even mentions, Zach is like my age now. So when all of this went down, Zach was like 17, 18, bullying a 15-year-old. It wasn't like an older CEO adult picking on some random kid in the community. This was a senior in high school at the oldest and a sophomore in high school at the youngest, having Discord beef over a fucking outro song. And all of this went on for about a year. One of the reasons Ethan decided to come out about this obviously was because the people that he looked up to and admired bullied him for literally no reason. And they bullied this kid, one of their fans, out of the animation community due to petty teenage bullshit. But also, with the explosion in its popularity, Poppy Playtime seems to have taken some concept ideas from Ekrocoaster's game Venge. And while I do have my sympathies for Ethan, and the bullying that he got from people that he looked up to is pretty heartbreaking to read, I have to say that the whole Venge thing, it's kind of weak, I'm not gonna lie.
This message concludes the emergency broadcast. Goodbye.
To make things even more spicy, Ethan would go on Twitter and make a thread pointing out similarities between Poppy Playtime and his developmental project, Venge. Venge is a game about exploring an abandoned movie studio, whose entire staff disappears one day. You explore the abandoned studio and find a bunch of puppet characters living in this abandoned facility. Now, Venge since then has been updated with a 2.0 remaster, so comparing the two games now with the remaster won't suffice because so much has changed since then. Ethan would provide examples of stolen ideas from Venge that appear in Poppy Playtime. And I'm gonna be so for real with you, it's pretty petty and stupid. Look, I get it. These guys had beef in the past, and with the timing of the game's releases, it's understandable why Ekrocoaster would think that there's some sort of plagiarism going on, especially given previous harassment. But are we seriously going to say that a mouth with jagged teeth and red lips is an original idea? Are we seriously going to say that exploring abandoned facilities and finding spooky lore is an original idea? If you play both games, there's obviously a massive difference. This led to a lot of folks assuming that Ethan just did this to launch his game off of Poppy Playtime with a plagiarism controversy, and I don't personally think that's the case, and Ekrocoaster was probably just more emotionally charged in this. But what I find interesting in both of these drama stories is the main feuding point is the same. They're both pointing the finger and accusing the other of copying off of each other, when in reality they're both just kind of copying off of Bendy and the Ink Machine. And again, I know that Zach presents himself as a CEO, and a lot of his behavior is pretty unprofessional, but that's just because, you know, he was 17 fighting with a 15-year-old. I don't think this is something to like hashtag cancel Poppy Playtime over, especially especially since Zach Bellinger is just the founder of a development company. He's not the game's creative director. He just gave Poppy a platform and the commercial backing to make the project. The real brains behind this operation is Issac Christopherson.
My name is Isaac. I directed Poppy Playtime Chapters 1 and 2, and 1 year ago today, Poppy Playtime Chapter 1 was released to the world.
So, interestingly enough, Issac Christopherson is the owner of 3A Display, the same 3A Display YouTube channel that tried to sign on Ekrocoaster. Isaac, too, is also an indie animator, posting under the current alias of Isaac X. Likely in the same vein as Zam, Isaac X's channel was merged as another subsidiary project with Enchanted Mob, as it slowly morphed into Mob Entertainment. Up until June, Isaac would post content in a similar vein to Enchanted Mob, until he started working on a new project, an indie horror game. He served as the story's writer and level designer, as well as directing the team at Mob to put together Chapter 1, which released October of 2021. And the impact that Poppy would make was immediate. To give you some background into what the state of indie horror was at the time, Five Nights at Freddy's ended its main line of Scott's games in 2017, with Pizzeria Simulator being the final lore-relevant game for the fans, and then Ultimate Custom Night just kind of being all the characters put into one challenge mode. It's been 4 years since a new title has hit the scene, and sure, FNAF didn't just end entirely. There was still Steel Wool making the VR games in 2019, but that's not new content, it's just rehashed content made in a VR setting. Things were being made in the meantime that were really cool, however, nothing that was like marketable plushie coded, if you know what I mean. Nothing that kids were gonna flock to and demand merchandise of. Nothing that could be called a real series. I mean, I guess there was Hello Neighbor in the meantime, but that game is ass and no one cares. And I don't see kids wanting a Baldi's plushie the same way that they're begging mommy and daddy for a Ban plushie. And again, it's not like there's nothing coming out at this point, but people were wondering if the phenomenon of Freddy's and indie horror exploding could be replicated again. Could we see something like that rise that quickly in popularity and garner that much hype and praise? Or was FNAF a one-time phenomenon? While the community hype and theory speculation will never be the exact same as it was with FNAF, Poppy's definitely had some interesting potential, starting with Chapter 1. We're introduced to a highly interactive doll called Poppy. You can comb her hair without risk of tangling, shine her shoes, and she'll have full-on conversations with you, as Funtime Company's most interactive toy. The infomercial also advertises tours of the Funtime factory before cutting to a room with a poppy flower painted on the wall. This commercial opens up the game, but we're shown that it's been sent to the player via a VHS tape, with a note urging us to find the flower, and everyone thinks the staff disappeared 10 years ago. We're still here. Right away, we get some themes going into the game, with the basic synopsis of the chapter reading: as an ex-employee of Playtime Co., you finally return to the factory many years after everybody within disappeared. So we got human-like toys that are probably alive, an abandoned toy factory where the entire staff disappears, and creepy VHS tapes that reveal the history of the company. And also, we need to find a flower. So far, I'm intrigued. Funtime Co. is our main setting and evil corporation of the series. Think of this as our Fazbear Entertainment, our Murkoff, our Lethal Company, as you will. Originally founded by Elliot Ludwig, then succeeded by Leith Pierre. Names you will learn about by going through the factory and finding these VHS tapes. Since the tapes and mystery lore are collectibles that you have to act actively search for, the actual lore breakdown will have to be saved for after we discuss what happens in the game. So for now, it's just gonna be held off until later. The Playtime Factory has since then been abandoned. The paintings on the walls of characters and mascots are chipping away with age. The place is trashed with destroyed toy boxes and security checkpoints being toppled and destroyed. Yet within the ruins of this place, you find a perfectly intact grab pack, which is Playtime Co.'s exclusive tech that, for the life of me, I cannot find a reason for. Basically, it's a backpack, grappling hook, long-range grabby thing, but it's also a fire gun, and it can conduct electricity and can launch you like 10 feet in the air. Why a toy factory would make something like this? I don't fucking know. I understand that the dark and hidden lore of Poppy Playtime is that the factory is a front for experimentation, but I mean, I just don't see where in a toy factory this realistically would ever be the thing for regular employees to use, let alone it being created in the 80s, apparently. As cool as I think the pact is in like concept and like functionality with the puzzles in gameplay, it is really cool. It does stretch the reality for me that I have to already stretch to believe the lore of this story. In terms of it existing during the time frame in which all of this is supposedly taking place. Basically what I'm saying is it's a cool gameplay mechanic, but functionality within the story, it's kind of dumb. The hands are swappable with different colors representing different capabilities. The orange hand in the form of a gun shoots fire pellets like a gun. The blue and red dual palms are for long-range grabbing and grappling, as well as opening grab pack scans for doors. Oh, and for swinging around gaps in the factory like Spider-Man. The green hands are for electric conduction, and the purple hand launches you in the air. In this chapter, we find the red and blue matching hands to open security doors. Our main threat for the chapter is probably the most popular mascot that gets the most attention and spotlight than, you know, the doll that this game is named after, and that is Huggy Wuggy. Huggy Wuggy is gonna get his own section because from a concept and design perspective to even how he is implemented in the chapter, I really, really like this guy. So, let's talk about Huggy Wuggy.
His name is Huggy. Huggy Wuggy, when he hugs you, he'll never stop. Your friend Huggy. Huggy Wuggy, he'll squeeze you until you pop.
Huggy Wuggy is first introduced in the centerpiece room of the Playtime Co. factory. Created in 1984 by Elliot Ludwig himself, Huggy was the most popular toy to come out of Playtime Co., becoming the company's mascot. Hence the giant Huggy statue. His plaque reads, Playtime Co. has designed hundreds of distinct toys, but none connected with people more than that of Huggy Wuggy. Our founder, Elliot Ludwig, aimed to create a toy which could hug you forever. As is always true, Playtime Co.'s 4-step process to creating the most lifelike toys was a success. With a bit of string and polyester, our lovable blue pal Huggy was brought to life. Huggy Wuggy has gone on to be Playtime Co.'s most popular and best-selling toy so far. When it comes to the creation of monsters in horror, there's a lot of aspects that contribute to making their fear factor and their presence effective. But all of these different horror villains are stretched across the spectrum in terms of fear factor that what actually makes them scary is individualized and unique to said character. However, if we are to boil all of these horror villains down to what they all have in common, they all have these 3 core elements that are the most important in getting a monster right. A great design, how it behaves, so how it walks, talks, and moves, and an effective first appearance. We can apply these 3 elements to Huggy Wuggy and get a sense at how he fits the model. His design is so simple and looks so non-threatening, but when they make him an actual threat, it's fucking perfect. The build up to Huggy becoming this monster is so well executed. When we first see him, we're thinking he's just a statue, and although it is, There's weird, ominous things that start happening around him, like giving the player a key or disappearing as soon as we're not in the room. The collectible tapes reveal that Huggy's boxes and toys have been going missing en masse on the premises, making you wonder if these things have a tendency to go missing, and if they do, where do they go? And the entire time, you've been noticing these weird noodle-like arms guiding you around, pulling itself around corners quick enough that you might not have even noticed. And then, finally, as you approach what looks to be the next area, he emerges from the darkness, towering over you and geared with a new set of teeth. He walks hunched over to adjust for his height, and the only thing that fundamentally changes is his mouth. That's it, and somehow it really works. He's not even really that scary beforehand. I think he actually looks really cute and goofy, but then he just becomes this, and it's horrifying. I'm just in awe with this thing. The only part of Huggy Wuggy I don't really like is his voice.
Does someone need a hug? Give me a big squeeze. I promise I won't bite.
I just don't think it really fits. Honestly, when I look at Huggy, whenever I think of like what this thing should sound like, I think of Meatwad for some reason.
He made me in his own image.
This chapter also gives us another effective scare to Huggy Wuggy with a claustrophobic chase scene. We escape Huggy as the scaffolding collapses and he falls to seemingly his demise. Another terrifying aspect of not just Huggy, but seemingly all of the other toys as well, they all have blood. They're like living creatures. And you'll see this by the end of chapter 4. Huggy is being kept together with bandages and rope that are just covered in blood and stuffing. This thing is alive. This can also be seen with this Poppy Playtime maintenance video, posted to Mob Entertainment's own YouTube channel. In it, we see the maintenance protocol to inspect and perfect the Poppy Playtime dolls. In it, we see the maintenance protocol to inspect and perfect the Poppy dolls before being sold. The final steps, which are skipping all over the place and barely in order to begin with, shows a pair of pliers reaching behind the back of a Poppy doll before ripping out this voice box. But you can see Poppy is covered in blood. Speaking of Poppy, we finally find the Poppy flower and enter a weirdly homey-like room. Contrasting with the rest of the factory being gray, industrial, and destroyed, this part of the factory just looks like my grandma's house. Poppy is displayed just like the Annabelle doll, so you know that bodes well. And opening it will probably lead to bad things for us in the future. Overall, there's not a ton going on in chapter 1. This is very much an opener type of game if I've ever seen it. It's made to give us a basic rundown of what we're about to get into. The basics of the mechanics, the fact that this is a horror puzzle game with the grab pack being our main tool to solve the puzzles. I guess there's also this like weird machine that looks something out of a Jim Henson universe that makes the Bee Cat toy, but like, it doesn't really play into the other chapters, so it doesn't really matter. The only significance it has is with Elliot Ludwig and the lore, which again, I am saving for much later. For now, as a horror entry and a game, this is relatively short, but there's a reason why it blew up the way it did. For a short game title and a first chapter, A Tight Squeeze is a great little horror game. It makes its mechanics clear and easy to understand. There's an interesting gimmick with the grab pack and it being like a puzzle horror game, but also an environmental exploration game. There's hidden tapes that you can find for interesting lore tidbits. The monster is fantastic with great build-up and a worthy execution. The chase is intense and claustrophobic. The animations and environments are great. It's like Chucky, but on a large scale. It's really well done. Like, it's no wonder this chapter did so well. With Let's Players picking it up, word spreading really fast, and the fact that it was free to play but had such high quality for a free game. In the wise words of Bjorn Ironside, the Huggy Wuggy UwUing monster ate my ass and made me fall out of my seat. 10 out of 10, worth my money. Thank you, Bjorn Ironside. But yeah, I think this is a really neat little horror game. There's no wonder this popped off as big as it did. For something cheap in like 20 minutes, there's a lot of effort and care here, and it's a worthy contender to the mascot horror craze, perfectly fitting in and feeding into the niche that people had been hoping to get another big title. And when when Mob Entertainment released what they created, they did not hesitate to make a lot of money.
Money, motherfucker.
As any smart business would do when they create a successful product, Mob was quick to capitalize off of their precious pride and joy. And you know what? I 100% agree. Buy my merch! Give me your money!
Give me your money.
Join my Patreon and get exclusive discount codes on your entire order. That includes shipping costs, by the way. Since their horror game is based on toys coming to life and killing you, it only makes sense to, well, actually make those toys in real life. Except they don't kill you. You know, I think that would be really bad for marketing. And to their credit, some of these plushies based on the actual plushies that exist in universe is actually really, really cool. Except for a Killy Willy. Low-key, this is just borderline blackface. It's Huggy Wuggy, but he can say the N-word. Never gets old. Never gets old. The joke never gets old. Weirdly, they also have a plushie of the player, and it's just this. I don't even know what this is. Also, who the fuck is Poe? What the fuck is this? Apparently, it's part of a line of toys called the Nightmare Critters, and he's supposed to be like a raven, but like, this is not a raven. This looks like a man that wants to touch me. One of the more controversial decisions that Mob made during the rise of Poppy Playtime's popularity was to sell, alongside the release of Chapter 2, an NFT line.
Oh, NFTs! That's something I haven't heard in years!
Now, although in recent years this fad has long since run its course and everyone criticized it to death for being overpriced, stupid, customizable characters in a dress-up Who game, but you have to pay for it, and also it's just bad for the environment or something. Meanwhile, I'm just over here barely understanding how this shit worked at all, and just going along with the notion that this sucked and I hated it. Because, low-key, this monkey art is so bad. This sucks. And also, why pay for a PNG image when I can just take a screenshot of it and save it to my phone? But yeah, anyways, the point being that this was a fad of the times. Everybody and your favorite YouTuber was making NFTs, so it's not like this is the worst thing in the world. I do remember when this first started back in the day though, and how so many people were boycotting Poppy Playtime entirely because of just this. Over digital posters. And I'm just like, dude, I just don't fucking care. Listen, when you make a product, you either capitalize off of the success and make a bunch of money off of your hard work, or you let some asshole scalpers do it. Pick your poison. Poppy Playtime immediately got the knockoff treatment as soon as this thing hit the market. And some of the knockoffs are the funniest things I have ever seen. You know those weird, like, dancing cactuses that repeat everything that they hear in a high-pitched voice and makes, like, babies laugh and shit? Well, here's one, but it's Huggy Wuggy for some reason. Here's Huggy Wuggy as a Muppet, and it's terrifying. Someone made these weird plastic figurines, and not only are their faces, well, that, but also, I don't know what the fuck is going on with Poppy. Like, whatever face they give her, it looks like she's been hitting that fence. Here's one of those flipping octopus things, but it's Huggy and Pink Huggy on the other side. I know she has a name, but I'm just gonna be calling her Pink Huggy for the entirety of this video. And here is Pink Huggy again, but for some reason, the advertisement for this toy is urging the customer to punch her for some reason. No idea what the fuck this thing even is. But anyways, that's the merch. Honestly, I think the quality of the Poppy Playtime official merch is pretty solid. It's fortunate that those behind the project are at least somewhat competent in character design, because I think most of the characters of Poppy Playtime are just built to be marketable, which, I mean, it makes sense. They are toys, after all. That's kind of the whole fucking point. But as we go into Chapter 2, we're gonna start seeing this means for marketing and having sellable characters become more and more of a priority than, say, well, I don't know, telling a compelling story.
It's been so long.
When going into into making the next chapter, the creatives were in for a new challenge. With how successful and hyped Chapter 1 was, they were basically dealing with the rise of a phenomenon. In just under half an hour, Poppy Playtime made itself a household name, and so now those over at Mob need to step things up. Chapter 2 needed to be bigger, longer, have more gameplay, more puzzles, more lore, and more characters. The next chapter, along with the following chapters, would give us a new cast of characters to get acquainted with for each chapter, with Poppy being the only consistent character. You know, because the name is called Poppy Playtime.
I'm the main character, and you have to like me.
But this will bring up an issue with Poppy Playtime's narrative structure that I'm gonna bring up now, since once you see it, you're never gonna unsee it. Each chapter of Poppy Playtime going forward introduces us to a new toy line that serves as the centerpiece for the chapter. For Chapter 2, it's this Stretch Armstrong woman called Mommy Longlegs. In the upcoming Chapter 3, it's the Smiling Critters, and then in Chapter 4, it's Doey the Doughman. But here comes the issue, because there's also all of these other characters that get introduced as side characters. The Smiling Critters is an entire crew of like 8 new characters. Mommy Longlegs has a bunch of crazy characters in her chapter, like the Symbols Bunny Guy and the dog caterpillar thing, and Pink Huggy Wuggy, and apparently there's these other characters that just don't make an appearance at all, but also exist in universe, like Daddy Longlegs and this fucking stupid ass baby. Look, Playtime Co. is a company that has been around for a long time, so it does make sense that they've made this many different toy lines and sell many different products. So all of these characters, all existing in the same factory, does make sense. But narrative-wise, this is so much stuff. There's too much stuff and not enough space! In an effort to keep up with this gimmick of introducing new characters as the sort of face for each chapter, what they've done is create too many characters that you barely remember and never pop up again. So many characters like Brawn and Boogiebot and Bunzo just kind of get forgotten about because of how little they're given any real screen time or attention. Like, I'm pretty sure you don't even know who any of these characters are. They are characters in the game with in-game models and merch. They must matter somewhat, but nothing is ever really done with any of them. It's just an excuse to make more characters to sell toys of, not really to build on these characters and give them any distinct personality that sticks with the player. Most of the characters are just here for marketing of new merch. And after introducing all of these characters, you kind of just forget who the hell everyone is. They all just kind of start blending into each other and feeling like the same character. Poppy and Huggy might be the only standouts because, well, this game is named after Poppy, so it's kind of the whole point. And the chase sequence in the first chapter was so well executed, how could you forget Huggy Wuggy after that? That thing was crazy. I love that guy. And you know what we should do? You know what would make me love him even more? If you just kept doing that whole chase sequence bit over and over and over again for each chapter. So the other gimmick outside of just giving us way too many characters is that the other chapters tried to one-up the first chase sequence from the last game. Given how intense and chaotic that whole sequence was, and honestly why a lot of people were impressed by the first chapter, they just decide that every chapter has to have something just like that, but with a different character each time, and they get progressively more and more uninteresting. For instance, in this chapter, the final chase is with Mommy Longlegs herself, and it ends with her getting grindered to death. And I mean, yes, that's all well and good, it works, but it's just this chase sequence, again, just not as claustrophobic, not as high intensity, and the build-up is just not that great. The build-up of the first game was all silent-like. It's just little hints up until the big reveal. Whilst here, it's kind of sprung up on you out of nowhere, and Mommy gives you a 10-second head start to get some distance.
10, 9, 7, 6.
But we can ignore this problem for now. I need to tell you what happens. So chapter 2 picks up right where the last chapter ended. We opened Poppy's case, it's empty now, and the light's got that red spooky Halloween bulb. We follow the halls down to the office of Elliot Ludwig, where we find a tape and a note. The tapes, again, will be held off for later, but the note is something I did want to read. Experiment 814, notes. This experiment utilizes a live rat. Rat was fed 3 portions daily for 2 weeks. At the end of the 2 weeks, the rat was killed and submerged into a poppy flower and preservation gel mixture. 1 week later, an electric shock was applied to the rat, still in the gel, in an attempt to revive it. The rat remained unresponsive. Analysis. I still believe in the potential of the poppy flower. Its unusual properties lead me to believe that the proper mixture and procedure could have life-altering properties. The poppy flower has for a long time carried heavy symbolism, and I don't believe that's for no reason. Perhaps something larger than a rat would yield different results. So, now we have a new theme. In addition to killer toys and mass disappearances, resurrection, apparently. For now, we are formally introduced to Poppy Playtime herself.
Oh, sorry. I didn't mean to scare you.
And interestingly enough, despite giving massive Annabelle vibes at first, she's actually really friendly. Which, you know, is a relief given the whole... that. So I guess it's nice to have a living toy that doesn't want us dead. She's actually willing to help us get through the train station. We just need to get the train code, which is all well and good until... So, since I gave Huggy its flowers and a dedicated section to explore what makes him so scary, it's only fair to do it with Mommy Longlegs. Because I'm not sexist. So, let's talk about Mommy Longlegs. Mommy Longlegs is a 90s toy launched with the rest of the Longlegs family. She's the main antagonist of this chapter, and there are some things that go into her character that do make her somewhat creepy. In terms of design, I think Mommy Longlegs is like... fine. Although, I don't think that she's as effective in comparison to Huggy Wuggy. Everything about Huggy doesn't give threat, but when he is a threat, it's unexpected and a complete subversion of your expectations. Mommy Longlegs is already giving the impression that she's supposed to be threatening.
Mommy heard that Miss Poppy was going to just give you the train code to escape. Now, how is that fun?
She kidnaps Poppy in the beginning, which definitely props her up to be the antagonist, but that's all she really gives us. An opponent to defeat. I mean, sure, she's a luring presence throughout the chapter, constantly watching you and forcing you through these mini-games meant to kill you, like a puppet master controlling the strings of the game. However, she's not really scary in the sense that we're afraid that this thing is alive. That's kind of worn off at this point. We're just kind of expecting it now. But writing her dialogue like this...
Obey the rules, or I'll tear you apart and eat your insides while you're still alive.
Doesn't effectively make her scary either. Rather edgy and full of fluff.
And if you win all 3 games, I'll give you the train code. Mommy loves that idea, Poppy.
The one aspect that they got right is how Mommy Longlegs is animated. Given that she's a stretchy toy, she has the scare factor of impossible limb lengths, and also looking like a spider. But I think what made people fearful of Mommy Longlegs is her backstory and its implications. So I'm sure you've probably realized this, but Playtime Co. clearly is more than just a toy factory. Yeah, no shit. It's a front for human toy experimentation. This is gonna explore a little bit of lore, but I will be saving the full breakdown for much later. This is just a brief aside. In short, Elliot Ludwig had a tragic passing in his family, his own daughter.
In the 1960s, an unfortunate family death had pushed Ludwig down to his lowest. How did he manage to stay determined even after suffering such a tragic loss?
Through his belief in the poppy flower possessing the ability to resurrect the dead, he was able to get his daughter back in the form of a poppy doll.
I wish you were here, Dad. I could really use one of your talks right about now. You know what to say. When you were running this place, you always knew what to say. I miss you.
All of these giant toys that we see as enemies in the game are human-toy hybrid experiments, and Mommy Longlegs is no different. Throughout Chapter 2, we are able to find reports that give background information on Mommy Longlegs. Most important to this section is the fact that she had a designated name besides Mommy Longlegs: Marie Payne. Mommy Longlegs has the unique ability to stretch any of her limbs for several hundred feet. This includes her fingers, arms, hair, neck, waist, and legs. She's very hostile towards the staff, but is very motherly and acts warmly towards the other experiments. She is protective of them. The hostility is quickly becoming problematic, but perhaps there is a solution to put her in her place. Mommy Longlegs would be perfect for facilitating everything with the children in the game station. She has the warmth that a mother should, and any rowdy children can learn and listen to their mother. It makes sense that her seeing these children daily would improve her behavior, and it is very unlikely she will act out in front of the children. Have her transferred to high security maintenance immediately. Conditioning can begin. In the first chapter, there's a specific poster that talks about a playtime adoption initiative, meaning that this giant game station area with playgrounds and mini games were meant for entertaining children, more specifically orphans that lived at Playtime Co. Marie was a child part of this adoption initiative. This is confirmed through an interactive ARG that was created to tease Chapter 3, which we can discuss in greater detail later. Elliot Ludwig believes in resurrection through toys, so it's theorized that Marie Payne was most likely killed and resurrected through Mommy Longlegs. So this really is just Chucky but on a mass scale. The backstory of Mommy Longlegs reveals the underbelly of Playtime Co. and the true motives of the company. Resurrections through toys and child experimentation. Learning this through discovery does make Mommy's conception somewhat mortifying in a sympathetic way, making her more of a tragic monster. But does that inherently make her scary? Well, I guess her being violent around adults is pretty messed up and, understandable given what Playtime Co-staff did to her, but I think that's inherently what makes this company scary, not Mommy herself. I mean, the existence of all of the toy monsters is the inherent horror of Playtime Co., but something with Mommy, I don't know, something is still not, clicking for me. Mommy Longlegs has a mixed reception in the community. Some say that she's absolutely terrifying, others saying that she's not. Some claim she's better than other monsters in the series, which I think goes a little too far. For me, Mommy Longlegs is a cool character, she's just not a good horror villain. And the reason why I personally feel this way is because...
Oh, you did it.
The signs and symptoms of bipolar disorder that
she's just so fucking corny. There was a subtlety and build-up with a well-executed reveal to Huggy Wuggy, and he didn't need yandere psychobabble to show that he's scary. The only thing that makes Mommy Longlegs scary is that she is understandably scary. Yeah, of course I'm afraid of the living spaghetti doll saying that she wants to rip my insides out of me. Of course that's fucking scary, but it's also it's a 13-year-old writing a creepypasta character for the first time. The scare factor of this character is hitting me in the face like a brick. I don't mean to keep making comparisons to Huggy Wuggy. It might not even be entirely fair because, clearly they're going for something completely different. But, given that both chapters end the exact same with a chase sequence, Mommy Longlegs just feels like Mob was trying to recreate Huggy Wuggy without understanding what made him so special. The chase wasn't just something to copy-paste and hope that it works the same. The context of how we interact with these monsters are completely different. When you first meet Huggy, he's just a face. A goofy, silly head of the company, immortalized by a harmless display. But then he disappears. And then you're seeing glimpses of something long and blue shifting in the dark. And after a while of wondering, how the fuck did that giant statue disappear? It towers over you, alive and hunting. And the realization hits you that, oh shit, this thing wants me dead. Mommy Longlegs doesn't have that. She makes it very well known her intentions. Hell, even a lot of her positive elements kind of work against her in ways. As although I think her looming over the entire chapter is ominous, it's too much exposure. You see her too much in well-lit environments like this, it takes away from her aura of mystery altogether. Overall, Mommy Longlegs has a lot going for her, but herself and her chapter has to improve from this. And I just don't think that she meets the mark. I mean, frankly, I find Bunzo more terrifying with his symbols of impending doom. The way Poppy Playtime Chapter 2 expands on its gameplay length in bringing more content worthy of the $10 price tag is by bringing players down to Mommy's domain of the game station. Here, we have to complete 3 minigames that Mommy is hosting in the intent to kill the player. The 3 minigames being Wuggy, Musical Memory, and Statue. Wuggy is exactly what you think it is. Little Wuggy dolls coming out of holes in the walls and you slap them in the face to make them go away.
Oh god, I'm dead.
Look really, really closely at the top left corner of Mark's hair. You can see this tiny strand that pokes out.
Musical Memory is a quick little memory game with Bunzo luring over you, slamming his symbols of impending doom. Finally, Statues is a red light, green light game, except you're being followed by this thing, and you can only move when it's dark. I think all of these minigames do have elements that would put a player on edge. Musical Memory relying on quick thinking and the pressure of the impending symbols of doom, but it's still pretty easy. Wuggy is just fucking obnoxious. There's like a bunch of holes in the wall with Huggy crawling out of every hole, and the stupid hand pack does not move fast enough to accommodate all of them coming after you. Not to mention, before this got fixed with a patch, the room this minigame took place in used to be pitch black. It was so fucking dark you couldn't see jack shit.
It's so dark, it's so dark, it's so dark!
This was easily the most annoying part of the game. At least Statues was somewhat more of an easier time, except the ending was a trap actually, and it took me like a second to figure out what the hell I was supposed to do. But after each minigame failed to kill the player, Mommy decides, no more Mr. Nice Mommy, Mrs. Nice. No more Mr. Nice Guy, and chases you around until she's grinded to death. Oh, I'm sorry. I just wasn't aware that the other mother was apparently lurking around a toy factory. I guess Coraline crushing it with a rock wasn't enough.
I don't like this rock. It's pissing me off.
Now, I know what y'all might be thinking. What the actual fuck was that? This is the prototype. The secret main evil, maybe, that is sort of worshipped as a god for some of the experiments. We actually first hear of this thing in a tape in Chapter 1, mentioning an experiment 1006.
Final log. In relation, experiment 1006, the prototype. Coordination and cooperation is evidently within his skill set, as well as the skill set of all other experiments of his type. Though still missing, today's events are no doubt in relation to him. His absence was a flaw in the scientific process, which should have under no circumstances been left unaccounted for. That's why I'm making this log, so that the same mistake won't be made twice. Any future experiments will need to be contained and disposed of in a secure location. I'm not worried about myself. One breakthrough and I'll be back. We must forge onwards in the name of science, whether those who are beneath us understand it or not. End of...
But anyways, as we've been playing through these minigames, slowly we've been collecting the input code to start up the train. After we free Poppy from her confinement, she boards us and monologues about how we're too perfect to lose.
I was so scared she'd put me back in that case. But you saved me. You are perfect. Too perfect to lose. I'm sorry. I can't let you leave.
So I guess Poppy's a fibber. She wasn't ever gonna let us go. Not until we right the wrongs here. You know, honestly, Poppy, that just kind of sounds like a you problem. I don't know why you gotta include me in all of this. I'm getting off of this crazy train. No, I didn't mean like that. When creating a sequel game, the same rules apply if you're gonna put out a good movie sequel. Expansion of the universe, callbacks to important themes and elements from the first, and new characters that play important roles in the story. And when looking at Poppy Playtime Chapter 2, yeah, it all clicks the same boxes just fine, but there's a lot that still holds it back. Upon release, it got a mixed reception with players finding numerous game-breaking bugs, lag spikes, frame rate irregularities, and even an audio glitch where if you are killed in-game, the audio for the entire game just breaks. The grab pack also is incredibly buggy at times, and this especially is a problem with some of the mini-games that require quick-time events like Whack-A-Wuggy and Musical Memory. The game used to be $5 upon release, which I actually think for what we have now that the game is all patched up, is a fine price, especially since the game is labeled as DLC content on Steam, but now it's $10 fucking. What's with the price hike? What, just because you fix some bugs, that means that Mob can just tack on another $5 extra for doing their job? You know, the bare minimum of fixing shit that should have been fixed before the launch of their game? Not to mention, with Chapter 1's success amongst, you know, child audiences, the sequel chapter is seemingly playing into that child demographic more and more, to a point that the game really is starting to just be like a kiddie's first horror game. Overall, in terms of content, story, and gameplay length, and how much bigger this is than the first chapter, they did succeed in at least outdoing themselves from the first title. But what it really boils down to is less is more. I remember the first chapter so well. Not just because my memory is fried and I can only handle things in 10-second intervals because my attention span is dog shit and my brain is mush, but because Chapter 1 didn't need to do that much to make an impact. Chapter 2 is trying too many things, and it makes it hard to have a hardcore memorable moment when playing this game. Really, I just wish it was better. But for a chapter installment, it's just kind of okay. And you know, given the strong start of the first chapter, just being okay is not great. Maybe they just set themselves too high. Maybe this was a one-hit wonder team of developers that took the one best shot they had, is what I would be saying if Chapter 3 wasn't so good. To tease the release of Chapter 3, Mob Entertainment made an interactive ARG to give us some expectations going into the next DLC. Now technically I should be saving the ARGs for all of the lore stuff once we get to it, but I want to briefly touch on it now because I think the tease for Chapter 3 is really fucking cool, but no one really talks about it. Okay, so technically, with each release thus far of Poppy Playtime games, there are teasers and exclusive videos on Mob Entertainment's pages that would tease each upcoming game. Chapter 2, for example, had this merch teaser for the Poppy Playtime website, voiced by Leif Pierre.
Go merchandise. We've got 18 awesome new apparel designs fit just for you. There's a lot of Huggy Wuggy. That blue fella is flying off the shelf, so I told marketing we're turning him into a shirt.
He mentions here that there was a leak of Playtime Co. live feed and to not go looking for it.
Oh, one last thing. Legals told me that we recently had an online leak of our internal security feed, so, do not go digging around for that.
Well, the internet did what it does best and dug for the website, which brought us to the tease of Mommy Longlegs through this footage leak website. They also had an ARG for the release of their spin-off series Project Playtime, and this one was a bit more excessive than a secret security cam leak. There were alternative Twitter accounts, a Playtime Co. official website, an FTP server, multiple recordings, an IP address that people thought was a real location, and letters sent to content creators to solve the ARG, all within the span of a month. Chapter 3's ARG was a 4-month-long project, and this time, unlike their last ARG, which was basically an online scavenger hunt, this one is completely interactive. The ARG starts with in-project playtime on the Destroy a Toy map for their Incinerator update. On this map, there's a sticky note that reads, 6/27, don't forget. And on that date, Mob released a teaser image for an ARG related to Chapter 3's release. The teaser was a desktop that, when brightened, revealed outlines of what looks to be either Huggy Wuggy or a new character, and the number 3 in red smoke. The clock on the computer reads 7:19, and on July 19th, the second teaser image of the ARG was released. This also reveals a secret message praising something called the Hour of Joy. At the end of the second teaser trailer for Chapter 3, fans were led to the Playtime Co. website, fictionally created to seemingly exist canonically in universe. The website had the same emulated computer for the previous images that circled Mob's socials. The computer was completely interactive. Players could input passwords to figure out hidden secrets and lore. Players unveiled the Smiling Critters launch, secret hidden videos and pictures, and the full backstory of CatNap, the main antagonist of Chapter 3, Dead Sleep. I think these teaser ARGs are really fucking awesome. It expands the world of Poppy Playtime in an interactive scavenger hunt to make players feel like they're uncovering more about this game's lore besides from just playing the actual game. And I think it's really unique. I don't see ARGs used often in combination with video games, and usually when it does, it's not super expansive of the game and more just kind of a side project. These ARGs actually have lore relevant stuff to it, which is kind of cool. But also, they ran this for a super short period of time, and so if you don't get access to play along with it, you're missing big parts of background information and story. Now, fortunately, all of this does get included in the actual games itself, so you actually don't have to necessarily play the ARGs, but they do have important lore elements that you'll miss out on if you're not engaging with the community, which could block access to the players in understanding what the hell is going on. But aside from all that, I think Chapter 3 is really fucking good.
Experiment 1188. First conversation.
Can I hear him? Can I see him? The prototype. Our God.
Deep Sleep takes us deep underground Playtime Co. to some place called the Playcare Center. It's this massive mini town where children who were orphaned here through the adoption initiative would live, sleep, learn in this makeshift school with robot teachers, and simulate a night and day cycle to copy the feeling of this being the real world. They weren't just giving little tours around Playtime Co. or hosting gameplay events with Mommy Longlegs. No, they were housing kids to live in this fake underground town. Similar to the game station, the town has specific buildings to explore and unlock secrets that will be used to escape the Playcare. That being the school, Home Sweet Home, the playhouse, the toy store, and the counselor's office. Now, you might be looking at this and think, man, this seems like a lot of stuff. This is just the same problem as the last installment, and although Yes, this does look like a lot. The reason why I enjoy this is how contained it is and how a lot of these locations are callbacks to even the first chapter. Poppy having a grandma dollhouse room seemed random in the first chapter, but once you get to this chapter, you understand that this was part of Playtime Co. trying to make this factory feel like a home. It just feels like everything here is more coherent and makes sense. This chapter also gives us a new set of toys to meet. The Smiling Critters. Dog Day, Crafty Corn, Picky Piggy, Kickin' Chicken, Bobby Bear Hug, Bubba Bubba Fint, Hoppy Hopscotch, and CatNap. CatNap being the main threat of this game. And I think he is fucking awesome! CatNap! I know that a lot of people have probably gotten over this thing by now. The crazy success of the Smiling Critters as characters have made way for oversaturation online. I mean, you know your series is successful when Elsagate slop content for babies starts utilizing your characters for shitty animations of CatNap pregnant roleplay. But regardless of how the internet has decided to kneecap how cool this guy is, I absolutely adore this xenomorph looking ass cat. Like Mommy Longlegs, CatNap was an orphan child named Theodore Graham Bell, who was resurrected through CatNap to look over the children of the play care, utilizing red mist to help kids fall asleep, because apparently these smiling critters were also oil diffusers.
I'm being arrested for my oil diffuser.
Despite that not making any sense. I know that the smiling critters themselves, as just like toys in their own right, are really unnerving, with their black marble eyes and black smiles. It's kind of hard to imagine like why any kid would want a smiling critter. That's kind of the only flaw in these guys' character design. It's the same problem with Mommy Longlegs in that the horror of these guys is pretty obvious and not subtle at all, but this time the lack of subtlety is right in its face. I can see kids being drawn to Huggy Wuggy. That's why it was so jarring to see him turn into this giant monster guy. And sure, I can see kids liking Mommy Longlegs, but with a personality like that,
I asked you to play fair, and you cheated! I hate cheaters!
I mean, I just don't think I can fix her, y'all. I'm sorry. These things are probably meant to be like unintentionally creepy because they're trying to replicate the style of the cartoon they're from. And I can see this as being like a botched job at trying to create a licensed toy and then creating this creepy looking thing. I mean, I've seen that with some licensed toys before, so it wouldn't surprise me here, I guess. But anyways, the appearance is fucking terrifying. Bony ass, skeleton man sized purple cat with a black creepy smile and eyes.
Making all this trap, you know I'm CatNap.
CatNap also isn't completely overutilized. Unlike Mommy Longlegs, where I felt like she was too overexposed, CatNap was perfect. He's lurking everywhere but not excessively, so he's still terrifying. Also, he blows red smoke in your face that puts you to sleep so he can eat you, or whatever.
The hour of joy soon will be free.
No wonder this thing gave kids nightmares. This Dr. Sleep looking ass bitch. I love him. I love him. CatNap's disturbing appearance may seem a bit over the top, but given the context of his backstory, and now seeing what has happened to Mommy Longlegs, it's fair to assume that these experiments decay into these horrific versions of themselves, when left in the dark, alone, away from children to tend to for so many years. Some go crazy, wanting to get revenge by killing every adult they see. Others form a hunting ground to appease the prototype. And then there's Poppy, who seemingly wants to escape, but has unfinished business. Speaking of which, it seems like that whole trying to keep us here isn't exactly going according to plan. Our game picks up right after the train crashes. After regaining slight consciousness, we see ourselves carried and tossed down some hole by CatNap. Already, the first impressions are wild. I mean, if this thing game wanted us dead, it would have done so when we were unconscious and vulnerable. No, CatNap is playing a cat and mouse game. He doesn't want to hurt you. Not yet. This hole, by the way, appears to be some sort of garbage chute. That leads us to a compactor that we have to escape. Once we are safe, we reach a room with a ringing phone. This is Ollie, and he claims to be friends with Poppy, trying to help you get out of play care. He also warns us about CatNap, being the last of the smiling critters.
It's the home of CatNap, one of the smiling critters. There used to be 8 of them, I think. Now it's just him.
Damn, there used to be like 8 of those things. I wonder what happened. We enter a sky rail that takes us to a dome. Elliot Ludwig's voice presents his grand ambition to host a safe home for children, as you are brought to the play care and... yeah, it's just BioShock.
That is why it is with enormous pleasure that as the founder of Playtime Co., I announce... Play Care.
I chose Rapture.
You know, it's kind of ironic because the BioShock comparisons don't even end here, seeing as both games also have characters named after parental figures. I see where you get your inspo from, Mr. Issac. I see you. So yes, Elliot Ludwig, this absolute fucking crazy person, is that fair to say? Yeah, I think that's fair to say, made an underground superdome for children. You know, I don't know who's more obsessed with children, this guy or William Afton. Anyways, Playcare is basically a childlike version of the mole people. Like, who in their right mind thought it would be a good idea to throw a bunch of orphans in an underground dome that mimics night and day? Are y'all just wanting to do, like, psychological torture experiments? I mean, I guess I wouldn't be surprised at this point. I feel like being born and raised in a simulated town as a kid has got to be grounds for bullying, right? Like, that's the equivalent of being a test tube baby or born from a robot incubator or something. That kid's mom's a clanker. You know, I love Playtime Co.'s thought process here because this is just bonkers. Y'all had to recall a bunch of these things and have news reporters saying shit like this.
Only one thing appears glaringly certain. Your children are not safe with CatNap.
And then some asshole is like, hey, why don't we make a children's underground society and have this giant walking lawsuit sleeper agent cat smoke these children to sleep? That sounds like an amazing idea. All right, so here's the deal. This is a gas factory. No, not that one. What is wrong with you? Ollie informs us in order to get the hell out of here, we need to send the gas elsewhere and away from the exit.
That gas you see coming from the machine is made right here in the factory. It's called the red smoke. Right now, it's all headed off to the right. We need to make that red smoke go left instead.
Why in this children's orphanage town is there a giant gas facility full of dangerous wires? Just don't think about it too much. So we start diverting the gas. We get the jumpy hand and the Grab Pack 2.0 update. And as we're diverting the smoke, the power goes out. The only way to restore the power is a series of backup generators that are located in Home Sweet Home, the school, and under the Smiling Critter statue center of the town. Ollie directs us to Home Sweet Home first. This whole place is engulfed in red smoke, which infects us with scarecrow hallucinations. We are able to find a gas mask in the sleeping quarters, which probably would have been helpful before we bared witness to whatever this is. Inside us, there are 2 different Huggies. The demonic TV creature and the pink one. The duality of man. Now, again, I did say that I was going to save lore stuff for much later, and I am, but this is important. In a tape found through using race cars to clear debris and finding batteries to bring power to certain areas, we find a tape of a scientist talking about an experiment with a child called Kevin.
Subject is stable. designated 1322. Clear neural abnormalities were detected in his recent checkup. Though highly irregular, we've pulled him from the home sweet home just before lights out.
The tape gives us insight of what this facility is actually for. When CatNap uses the red smoke to put kids to sleep, the sleeping children are taken from their beds and experimented on. So before with Mommy Longlegs, she's only hostile around adults, yet very protective around children. Huggy is also seemingly the same, but CatNap was specifically designed to prepare children for experimentation. He's not like Mommy Longlegs, where she's left crazed and angry that the children were experimented on. He's not even like Pink Huggy, who mourns what has been done to her. And he's not like Huggy Wuggy, who is blindly giving into anger and rage. CatNap is just doing what he was designed to do: lure people into a false sense of security, watch for their right moment, and then completely incapacitate. So we restore power to the playcare and make our way out of Home Sweet Home, where we are then jumped by Pink Huggy Wuggy.
No! No! Let go! They didn't do anything wrong. We're actually here to help.
As it turns out, she is working alongside Poppy, who finally is gonna give us some answers as to why she went all possessive on us all of a sudden.
Listen, I'm not your enemy, but I can't just let you leave. What's happening down here is bigger than all of us. I need you, so we can get revenge on those monsters who've tortured you, who've tortured us. They didn't act alone. They're disciples of the original, the prototype.
Again, girl, that's all great and good, but this just sounds like a you problem. What do you want me to do about it? You just want revenge on the prototype because he locked you in a box, when honestly, I'm starting to think that he may have had a point. So now we go to the schoolhouse. Inside this school, we're greeted to a voice over the intercom.
This is Miss Delight speaking. Please excuse the interruption. Students, remain in your seat until the bell has rung, and no going in the halls without a hall pass.
This is Miss Delight, which is basically Robot Weeping Angel with jaundice face. If you see her, she doesn't move, but as soon as you look away, she gets closer. And honestly, I really love Weeping Angel type monsters. I can eat that shit all day. Give me SCP-173. Give me the coil head. The Mimic! Anyways, we turn on the generator, we smush the teacher robot with a garage door, and in the schoolhouse specifically, we keep seeing reference to something called the Hour of Joy. The Hour of Joy is an incident that happened August 8th, 1995. Near the end of the chapter, Poppy gives us a tape of the security coverage of the event. In it, Huggy Wuggy, Pink Huggy Wuggy, Mommy Longlegs, CatNap, and Boxy Bo from Project Playtime, all under the influence of the prototype, killed everyone in the factory. This explains why everyone disappeared all those years ago. And you, being an ex-employee, means that you survived the Hour of Joy, either by calling in sick or being fired previously before all this went down. You were spared from a gruesome death. The Hour of Joy effectively shut down Playtime Co. for good, leaving the living toys to rot, and ruining the reputation of Elliot Ludwig completely. It seems the only way to escape the underground network of caverns is through this alternative playhouse entrance. But before we can go through here, off on the cliffside, we see CatNap is shown with whatever the fuck this is.
No temptation can stray me from the path of God.
It appears as if CatNap is adoring this weird-ass statue, as we learn that CatNap worships the prototype like a god. Therefore, this thing appears to be some sort of eulogy. Not that I think the prototype actually looks like this, but I have to imagine it's probably close. Inside the playhouse, hostile smiling critters give chase throughout, crawling out of holes and being scared away via the flare gun we got earlier. The playhouse has seemingly been converted into a prison, with areas barred off, dividing areas into makeshift cells. And as we walk around this dark and childish prison, we see this.
You're Poppy's angel. Come to save us. Nothing left to save. Not here.
This is Dog Day, the last of the smiling critters still alive. Indie horror has always had this sort of avoidance in showing anything explicitly gruesome, even in something like FNAF, where a lot of the gruesome details, such as, kids being murdered and their bodies being shoved into animatronics, or even like the spring-locked death of William Afton, is either like something that you read about or is through pixel art. Most of it is not explicitly graphic in any depictions of gore. And in Poppy Playtime specifically, sure, we've seen like blood. We've seen characters die and they bleed all over the place, and that's, I guess, gruesome. But by the end of the day, they're just toys. They can't actually feel pain. Can they?
No! Leave me! Please! Just go! Run!
This isn't just a gruesome death of a character. This is witnessing a character being tortured and feeling real pain. These things aren't just full of organic materials, they are living toys that can feel things like fear and experience violent death. They can feel pain, they can suffer. And yeah, this does lead to yet another chase sequence, but I think this one is equally as scary in its context. Dog Day isn't chasing us because he wants us dead. He's chasing us because he literally has tons of smiling critters crawling around inside of his body and using it as a meat suit. Toy suit. Miso soup. Indie horror has hid away from showing anything overtly disturbing. And out of all of the games to actually give us an up-close and personal view, out of fucking everything, it's Poppy Playtime. And its build-up is fucking glorious. After being warned by Ali of the dangers of the playhouse.
Everywhere is pretty dangerous around here. That playhouse especially. Yuck.
Despite the horrors that we've already witnessed in Home Sweet Home and in the school, having a weeping angel teacher robot with a mace made of pencils, I mean, what could possibly be in the playhouse that is worse than that? And it's this horrific fucking nightmare fueled corpse of a dog man. And it's like, we didn't choose to willingly go into the playhouse. We had to go in this direction because it was the only exit available. We willingly went to Home Sweet Home and the school. We didn't choose to go through the playhouse. Look, I didn't ask to be here. I don't want to see Dog Day like that. Now I'm just sad. It's fucking visceral and gruesome and almost blasphemous. It's actually fucking disturbing and scary. Given what chapter 2 was and how, not scary that was, it's kind of fucking amazing. Anyways, after we get out of that, we head to the counselor's office to find the final backup generator. This seems to be the head offices for the scientists and adult personnel to work alongside the children to hopefully get them adopted. We require the power to get everything back up and running, only to be attacked by CatNap, who destroys our gas mask. And we have another hallucination sequence that brings us into the back rooms.
Before the back rooms were a thing, okay? Jingle, jingle, pay attention, I said your favorite word, the back rooms.
This hallucination shows us shadowy events that happened in the daycare, and it implies your involvement as an ex-employee.
Do you have any idea what you're doing? Do you know what's happened here? Do you know who we once were? Do you see why we have to end this? Do you even know what's real?
Girl, Poppy, I called in sick that day during the Hour of Joy. Don't implicate me into whatever this fucking shit is. And now it's time for the epic boss fight. CatNap floods the room in his scarecrow smoke and emerges as this fucking thing.
Behind you! Look!
Oh my god! This is the worst. I hate this. This fight is not super easy either. Sometimes you're dealing with CatNap hallucinations, but sometimes they're actually real. And he has all of these entry points that he either could be in or not. All the while, you have to send electrical charges into this machine and wait for each battery to charge to implement into this wall machine. It's a pretty intense sequence, and there's so much you have to pay attention to, but it's not impossible to do. It's just really overstimulating and frustrating, but it's doable. So finally, the machine is fully functional after holding off CatNap for what seems like forever. You charge up your green power hand one last time to end CatNap. As CatNap bursts into flames, the prototype descends from the heavens to drag CatNap up into the light. Would this count as his version of the Rapture? Hey homie, let me just pick you up here real quick. Dude, I don't know why, but I have this horrible headache. Could you just... You know, I've heard of acupuncture therapy, but this is just ridiculous. Yeah, you're gonna need a new set of crowns, G. Let me just... Overall, that was awesome. Even if the additional new characters for each chapter format is annoying in terms of like, now there's too many characters and there's too much going on, I really liked CatNap a lot. I think the smiling critters are interesting. And they're not just one-off randos like chapter 2. There's these cardboard cutouts of all of the characters with different voice lines that give you insight as to who they are. And I really adore this. The Playcare is a really cool environment. I love the hallucination sequences, and Dog Day gave me a sense that the developers of this game actually do want to explore horror elements. They actually do want their game to be perceived as scary, as a serious horror entry, and not just a baby game for babies. I mean, the perception has been so positively perceived that gamers who don't give a shit about Poppy Playtime before are now praising how good Chapter 3 is. I mean, seriously, the Moist Critical Moist Meter positive score, that is no joke. That is high honors. And it's great to see this happen because Chapter 2 really didn't feel like an improvement from the first. What, with all the bugs? But now, this shit's looking promising. Poppy Playtime Chapter 3 had the longest wait time in between titles, with a wait time of over a year since Chapter 2, and they cooked within that year. They took the criticisms of Chapter 2 and actually took their time. And sure, it's not like the game didn't come with some glitches and some bugs, but honestly, at least it was either fixed quicker in comparison to Chapter 2, or barely an issue at all. When you let these people cook, they deliver, and damn, does it taste good. This actually gets me really excited for the future chapters. Some of the trailers for the next chapter look really good. Like, I really like this split down the middle face toy that looks like a Demogorgon. That's pretty sick. Oh, and it looks like we might be getting a more human-like antagonist. With this dude and a TV head on his head and his interface as an eyeball, I wonder what all that could mean. Oh, and they're hosting yet another ARG to tease this next chapter. And they're taking their time with another year until release. Oh, they gotta be cooking up something juicy. I'm hyped. Let's fucking go, baby!
Hiya there, pal. Follow me.
I'm sorry, what the actual fuck?
The most unplaytested, unoptimized game I've played in the past few years.
For what I have wrought? What is going on with the weight painting, the zipper? Oh my god. What? Move out the way. Please, my retinas can't take it much longer. Where are you trying to go, little buddy? Is Yarnaby supposed to be here?
Bugged. Let me out.
Every single thing they've managed to, like, seal over.
Good night.
Chapter 4 certainly has been dragged through it, hasn't it? Since its release, Chapter 4 has been the lowest rated out of all the chapters, on release having the most bugs in comparison to other chapters, and some of these bugs made the game virtually unplayable, and the community has really been unhappy, with video after video after video of people tearing this thing apart. Don't get me wrong, there are some people that liked it and didn't care for the bugs and were just in it for the story. But the problem is, by this point, The story's all over the goddamn place. Okay, I was willing to believe that this closed down factory had abandoned living monster toys in it and also wanted to set up an adoption program where they test children with minigames in a train station and an underground child town orphanage, all ran by these things. I'm willing to stretch reality a little bit to accept that all of that is happening in the year 2005, but I draw the line at the nightmare critters. What the fuck is that? By this point, a lot of the issues I brought up in chapter 2 just can't be ignored anymore. There's like 50 characters in this horror game now. And you'd think that would be like, I don't know, 12 characters per chapter. And it kind of is, but the mass majority of them come from 3 and 4. Especially chapter 4, because this thing is a fucking bloated mess. What the fuck happened?
What the dog doing?
Well, there's actually an explanation as to what the hell happened that makes all of this make so much sense. Remember Issac Christopherson, right? Yeah, director of Poppy Playtime, head level designer, kind of the whole reason why any of this exists. Yeah, he quit. Shit. Around the time of Issac's departure, ex-staff members from Mob would come forward, claiming a difference in creative direction and a toxic work environment. Specifically, how hard it was to work with the Bellingers. This includes people like James Pelter, the technical artist at Mob, and Micah Preciado, the other half of Zam Animation, and the head character design left Mob Entertainment.
How much of Chapter 4 do you recognize from your original vision?
It is really similar overall. I mean, at least on major beats. Like, the moment-to-moment stuff is pretty different, but also, that doesn't mean much, because when I was there, the moment-to-moment stuff was not fleshed out at all. To the credit, you know, to all the people I know and love who worked on this game, it's just like, man, it was ambitious. Like, it's not up to, you know, the team how long they're going to have exactly. So you work with what you get.
Yeah.
You get a budget, you get a timeline, and it's like, make the game. You know, make it amazing, but make the game. When you're in game development, you'll come to realize just that the most painful truth is that no matter the finished product, you'll always wish you had more time. I mean, astronomically, with more time, every bit of more time you give something, the better it gets, but also the more expensive it gets, and more time doesn't... I've found that it doesn't directly equate to more content as often as you'd like it to. You know, a lot of times it just means more polish. To add more content, you need like a significant increase in time.
And it really sucks because, like, I know a lot of AAA title companies will fight their creatives tooth and nail all the time. Company interference against creatives happens so often in both movies and in games, and it really sucks. And it especially sucks because in independent media, you kind of expect better, especially since a lot of the reason creatives will go independent is because they don't want to deal with any upper management messing with their shit. During the promotional phase of Chapter 4, Mob Entertainment released a new line of anti-toys, as I will coin it. These are the Nightmare Critters, which is just straight up the smiling critters, but edgy emo scene girls from 2013.
Pianosaurus and the Nightmare Critters were totally added after I left. The Nightmare Critters just completely did not exist. I think they've said that they were made in like June or something.
And straight up, they only made these things to sell more merch. A lot of people, when they saw these things, were very concerned that Chapter 4 was just gonna be focusing on more critter variants, despite the fact that there's already 8 of these fucking things, and I only remember like 2 of them. But don't you worry. What remains of the devs made it clear that their focus would not be on the Nightmare Critters, which is a relief. Thank God. Until you think about it and you wonder, why the fuck were these things made in the first place? Why? Did we need this? We did not need this. Then we get the tease of Yarnaby as well as Dr. Sawyer. Okay, this could actually be more interesting. Yarnaby could be like a rabid animal that this guy uses as an attack dog, like a deranged pet in his master. That sounds like an awesome idea. And then they release the game, and this motherfucker is the face of the chapter, and I don't even know what the fuck this is. Okay, so apparently, Doey the Doughman was a complete surprise to everyone. Because oddly enough, the first time that anyone had actually seen this character was not in the teasers, not in an ARG, but at fucking Walmart. These are the people of Walmart. They released the Doey dolls ahead of the game's launch, and everyone was like, who the hell is Doey the Doughman? And then a day before the release date of the game, bam, there he is with his own trailer, and now the main face of Chapter 4. Holy shit, this is so bad. What a fucking shit show. To have your main villain of the chapter be revealed by fucking Walmart and then showing him off at the very last minute. And usually the ARGs would have teased the main antagonist and face of the next Poppy Playtime chapter, but this ARG doesn't tease Doey at all. He just comes out of absolutely nowhere, and I cannot fathom why. They knew he was gonna be the main antagonist. He's fully animated and gets his own scenes and a boss fight and everything. Why would you not put this guy in front and center of all your advertising? If he's gonna be the front and center of the box art, why are you not advertising that he's gonna be a big part of your game? Are you ashamed that you made this thing and just didn't want people to know about it? Because honestly, I would do the same thing, but it's a tad bit too late for that. Hey, I have an idea. If you didn't think that this character was good enough to advertise and put as the face of your game, how about use the other two characters that you teased already and scrap this guy entirely? Look, I know it seems a bit too early to be going into this, but honestly, I just want to get this over with. Let's talk about Doey the Doughman.
Are you gonna, oh my god, fucking, yes? Oh, you look like a shitty project in kindergarten Play-Doh.
Doey the Doughman sucks and I hate him. First of all, I think this goes without saying, right? Doey the Doughman is not scary. And to be completely frank, I don't know what the fuck kind of gimmick they were even going with this guy. I guess what makes Doey different from the other monsters thus far is that he starts off not wanting to hurt the player. And it would be kind of interesting if Doey's switch from not wanting to kill us to wanting to kill us wasn't so jarring and terrible.
He killed my friend!
Honestly, this might have just been like a multiple personality switch. Oh wait, actually, it was!
Haunting us, starving us, making us sick and... He controls it all with an Omni hand, we think.
So, sticking to the theme here, Doey the Doughman is another experiment of Playtime Co., but this time it's 3 different children stuck inside of Doey. Why? Who knows? Who cares? Y'all are trying to get me to enjoy this when I was just done sucking this off. This downgrade is insane. I know that people like Doey in terms of like character interactions and dialogue. He is an endearing character, but the last chapter had this. I'm sorry, what about this is supposed to be fucking scary? Each of the Poppy main monsters have had some sort of gimmick to their character. Huggy Wuggy is tall and has those sharp teeth and is incredibly fast. Mommy Longlegs can stretch herself into an even longer and bigger threat. CatNap makes you hallucinate, and Doey just does what Mommy Longlegs does and stretches himself out, and he can get real big. That's it. Wow, it's not like we haven't already seen this before. Look, if you like Doey for like his personality or his friendly demeanor, if you want to even say that he's like a tragic monster like Mommy Longlegs, that's fine. Like what you like, hate what you hate. I just hate this. Doey is a bitch and I'm a hater. Maybe it's not entirely fair since I just keep referring back to CatNap, but like, how could you not? This is just so fucking cool. This is not! So chapter 3 ends with Poppy explaining how the prototype conducted the Hour of Joy and that he needed to be killed to avenge everyone who died that day. And then Pink Huggy Wuggy lowers us in a lift shaft and gets attacked, and yeah, that's about it. Now we're in some sort of underground critter graveyard, which for a visual location, this is really fucking cool. Given that all of these toys used to be alive at some point, it's almost like you're walking through a genocide of smiling critters. Also, this entire area of the factory is more obviously full of death, with actual human bodies everywhere, including children. We tried to enter the far side of the graveyard, but are blinded and attacked by hordes of Huggies, who move like this. It's very funny. The next location we get to explore is the prison, which is a holding facility for the monster toys and children waiting to be experimented on. Unlike the last few installments, Chapter 4 has the least visually interesting environments. Everything is gray and dull, besides maybe Safe Haven. It also doesn't help that upon release, this game had a weird lighting glitch where if you stand around idle for long enough, in certain areas, the entire screen just gets whitewashed to shit.
Move out the way! Please, my retinas can't take it much longer!
So we cut through the cave systems and discover another train. Meanwhile, Ollie is trying to get a hold of us.
I wanted to talk to you. Before you go inside, I mean, everything you've seen out here, the piles, the dead, they all came from inside. Believe me, everything Poppy said about this place is true. It's hell.
So we trap ourselves in a train car and talk to a television.
Now what's this? Do I feel something squirming its way beneath my skin?
This is the Doctor, which seems to act as the main antagonist of this chapter. Spoiler alert. He's not. But this is Harley Sawyer, a gifted and cruel doctor who headed the research of turning kids into toys. This is the head doctor that created Mommy Longlegs, Huggy Wuggy, CatNap, and Doey. Harley is the living embodiment of the mad scientist. His creations would escape captivity on many occasions, killing visitors and playtime staff, seemingly on Harley's watch without much care as to what happens.
Sawyer can't keep leading this project.
I'm not disagreeing. Huggy loose in the woods, that business with CatNap, the whole stole thing,
and half a dozen other incidents.
Right, and all of that pales in comparison to the theater incident.
So what Leaf Pierre decided to do, instead of, I don't know, maybe call the police or fire him or something, he trapped his brain in a computer. I mean, you know, given the whole, like, turning into toys thing, I don't think he would mind the taste of his own medicine, actually.
When I get my hands on you, you're a dead man!
Get it? Because he's a doctor? But anyways, furious that his organs are now wired up to a machine, Dr. Sawyer teams up with the prototype to enact the Hour of Joy as revenge against Leaf Pierre.
You know I'm still your best shot at cracking that secret. If I weren't, you would have already killed me. A sound observation.
Yes.
You have made yourself useful. Provide me more options. I will try again. Of course.
Again, given this guy's involvement and attachment to the infamous Hour of Joy, I really don't see why this guy couldn't have been the main face of the chapter. I mean, maybe they were. Given that Issac left due to creative differences, it's possible that when Dr. Sawyer was pitched as the main antagonist of the chapter, Mob didn't think that he was marketable enough, you know, as a plushie. No one wants that shit. Even after giving them Yarnaby, it still didn't seem to be enough. They just really wanted the stupid fucking smiling critters for some reason. As we explore the holding cells, we are attacked by the evil smiling critters that are cannibalizing each other down there. I guess the evil critters are just the dark and twisted versions of the smiling critters that the Doctor created himself because he's an edgy scene girl from 2013. As we fight our way through the nightmare critters and head over to an observation room, we are nearly bum-rushed by Yarnaby.
Let's try our hand at something a little different. Oh, Yarnaby.
Yarnaby Doey is the first of these monsters where we actually have to engage in stealth missions, making sure to stay quiet as we navigate areas, or doing tasks like a later segment of the game where you have to rewire a computer with Yarnaby lurking around. The problem is that Yarnaby is completely fucking broken, both in like how hard he is to actually avoid at times, and also some players experienced a glitch where Yarnaby in certain section where he's supposed to be never even shows up.
I feel like Yarnaby's supposed to be here, but okay, maybe not.
As we try to avoid Yarnaby, a helping hand is stretching around, trying to throw Yarnaby off your tail. We get a short chase sequence, and we find ourselves stranded in a holding cell with this thing that dies immediately.
Now that hit the spot. I haven't eaten in weeks.
Please go away.
Hiya there, pal.
You're scaring me. You are scaring me.
Stop, you're scaring me. You're scaring me.
Oh yay, it's Doey the Doughman. I'm so excited! As it turns out, Doey is an ally of Poppy and Ollie, and the protector of this area called the Safe Haven. Safe Haven is a place out of reach of any of the monsters working with the prototype, as well as the prototype and Dr. Sawyers themselves. Seemingly, this is the only safe place at Playtime Co. for wayward toys who don't want to be killed or join the prototype to try and survive. Poppy appears to be a hated figure in this place, as the other toys talk pretty negatively of her.
What's Poppy doing here? I don't know, they just let her in. Why? That's inviting a whole lot of trouble we don't need. I mean, how do we even know we can trust her this time? We don't know, so let's just be careful.
And graffiti on the walls show a sense of betrayal of the other toys, labeling Poppy as a deserter who abandoned them down there, when in reality, Poppy was just trying to find a way out and just got trapped by the prototype in this box from Chapter 1 many years ago. Also, and this is just a weird nitpick, but Doey is supposed to be a giant Play-Doh guy, but he has the physics of slime and not Play-Doh. Also, in the meantime of getting to Safe Haven, Kissy and Poppy are able to reunite with you, but following behind them is the prototype.
Through the showers. We should be able to make it into the safe haven from there.
Which very well may have been the thing that attacked Kissy in the final scene of Chapter 3. Once we are stationed with Poppy and reconvene, her plan is to basically fill the lair of the prototype with red smoke and light it up with mining charges?
If we're going to free them and stop the prototype, we need to plan for both at the same time. The red smoke you redirected from Playcare? It's an accelerant. All it needs is high pressure and a little spark, and it ignites. The plan is this. We'll fill the foundation with smoke and line it with old mining charges. Then once you, me, and Kissy have freed the orphans, our friends here will blow this place sky high. That's our revenge.
Poppy also reveals that during the Hour of Joy, the monsters never attacked the children, but they did take them to the lair of the prototype, trapped deep underground and in a deep sleep.
The orphans weren't killed during the Hour of Joy. They were taken. They're below, in the labs. The prototype's home. They are alive, but sleeping.
So it's very possible that this whole time, there have been children living down in Playtime Co. for years, possibly being experimented on by the prototype and Dr. Sawyer, continuing their research in converting kids into toys. Doey isn't exactly sure of this plan, rightfully so, because her plan risked literally burying everyone alive under rubble.
I think you might be wrong, Poppy. You want.
It's the best for everyone, Doey. That no trace of this place is left. We agree to that.
I know, but us, everyone in there, we're not just things gone wrong. We're people. Can't you see that?
But let's be real, the toy children hybrids don't really stand a chance out in the normal world, given their lives are just Toy Story for the rest of forever, so maybe Poppy is just sparing them from being turned into Sid's Franken-toys. Doey asks you to retrieve something called the Omni Hand from Dr. Sawyer, which is another hand attachment for the grab pack. So we make it to a mine shaft where Yarnaby chases us around. We try and find a way to power up the exit to escape. We get another chase, and yeah, this is what I'm talking about. Guys, the Huggy Wuggy chase is not something you can just copy and paste over and over, and it will be scarier every time you do it. I'm kinda used to being chased by now that Yarnaby just doesn't really scare me as a chase villain. Even with his cool design, with his mouth being split down the middle of his face, I just think that he's more cute than anything. 10 out of 10 would pet again, even at the risk of this thing Venus flytrapping me. As we swing away from Yarnaby by a chain, he tries to give chase by accidentally hanging himself, and then he randomly combusts into flames and dies. I don't know why this happens, but it's very funny. We reunite with Doey, who is shot by Dr. Freeze's ray gun. The doctor knows one of Doey's weaknesses, but apparently isn't smart enough to not implement an off switch for us to use in case we need it.
You are so dumb. You are really dumb.
We finally make it to the doctor's lair where he mocks us, asking why we would even come back here.
I can't say I remember seeing your face before, but I'm curious. Why come back? It can't be that a vague letter was your only reason.
Honestly, Doc, that's a pretty good question. I'm not too sure myself, actually. The doctor starts to give gaslight gatekeep girl boss as he points the finger at Poppy.
Poppy sold you her stories. Innocence wants bliss. And she is so innocent. Did she tell you her that she knew it was coming? Or did she leave out that crucial?
She knew about the Hour of Joy the whole time. Why would she have good intentions? Buddy, you are more closely connected to the Hour of Joy, as in you are literally behind it. You can point fingers all you want. I don't doubt that Poppy could have known, maybe. But also, maybe. Just shouldn't have done that, man. The objective from here is to freeze Dr. Sawyer's organs to death. Meanwhile, he's still trying to play mind games with the player.
If you want to leave this room, it'll come at a cost. It's this little life or yours.
Oh God, he's making me choose whether this critter lives or dies. This is Saw 6 all over again.
It's your mission. The door will open. Or is maintaining the veil of your morality more important? Act quickly.
Okay. Oh! That was easy. So we finally have a confrontation with the psycho doctor. Well, okay, fuck off then.
Well, okay, rude.
Huh? What's up? Yeah, that's what I thought. Pussy.
I would have hit him, dude. I was about to so hard, but my arm is so freaking sore from the or whatever. Like, I almost like laid him out, but I didn't want to yeah.
I was gonna compliment your circuitry and your many cool televisions, but if you want to throw me down a hole, take me to dinner first. So we have to find fuses to open up the exit, all while being chased by the endoskeletons from Five Nights at Freddy's. Who knew Funtime Co. was a sister location of Fazbear Entertainment? I swear it's like they own everything or something. So we take down the doctor by Control-Alt-deleting him out of existence and grab the Omni Hand for Poppy and Doey. So now the plan is to use the Omni Hand to redirect the red smoke and put the whole explosion plan into motion. Doey and Poppy are still in disagreement with the whole thing, and then Ollie calls and... He's outside! Ollie! He's outside! So now we repair the generator as Doey tries to hold the prototype off. Once it's all set, we head to the foundation to set the explosions. Once the red smoke is redirected and the dynamite is set up at all of the weak points, we attempt to head back to the safe haven. Doey is unfortunately still alive, surviving the prototype encounter. And then, for whatever fucking reason, safe haven explodes! So So I guess the prototype was able to blow up Safe Haven and all the toys that took refuge there are now dead. This is when Doey starts seeing red, and this once friendly ally starts blaming Poppy and us for the death of his friends.
It was you who ruined everything!
He then turns into a Resident Evil 7 monster and chases us down. And finally, we have a fight scene and...
Too loud! Too loud!
I don't know, I guess it's whatever. You just run around in a circle and freeze Doey and then cut him up into pieces, which is pretty morbid, given this is just 3 kids inside of Doey that just wants to go home. Can't say that like Doey isn't at least a compelling character. The 3 parts of his personality, just wanting what's best for everyone, but also out for bloody revenge, but also just so sad by the loss of their friends that they just want to go home. I can't say that Doey is a boring character, he's not. I'm just saying that he's more of a monster I pity than I find scary. So, somehow, Poppy and Kissy survived the Safe Haven explosion, desperately trying to get a hold of Ollie and upset that Doey was killed. Suddenly, the phone picks up.
Shelf ventilation block B6. Is this where you are, Poppy?
What?
Stay where you are.
And listen closely. You're not going to run. You're not going to fight. The charade is over.
Oh no, the prototype with the ability to imitate people's voices has been using Ollie's voice the entire time. You know, Poppy, maybe you should have made sure that Ollie was actually still alive. Like, actually alive. When's the last time that you saw that kid in person? Can you describe what he looks like? Because at this point, I'm starting to believe that this Nigerian prince named Ollie is scamming you.
I will find you. And I will kill you.
Hello, how are you? I am under the water. Please help me. Here too much raining.
The prototype really needs Poppy for some reason, but she obviously doesn't want to go back in risk of being locked away in a box forever. So she just kind of runs away. Her whole plan is fucked. All of her allies are dead. Ollie doesn't even exist. There's nowhere else for her to run. As she does, the prototype reveals that he was able to take the explosives and relocate them to blow us up, which Kissy does try to save us from, but we're blown into a massive hole, ripping off Kissy's arm. We fall into a cave system where a lab of poppy flowers are growing. The lab appears to be the most secure part of the factory, withstanding the explosives, monsters, and destruction of the facility. Inside the offices, a tape is left with the voice of Leaf Pierre, advising that trespassing in this area is strictly forbidden.
Let's be honest. You're not supposed to be here. This is the single most high security, high clearance section of the whole factory. When someone finds you down here, you will be shot. And before you get any ideas, don't think you can just sneak away either. No, the second you put this tape in, it set off an alarm. So if anyone's home, they know exactly where you are. Pretty nifty, huh?
And the punishment is death. You know, I'm so glad you didn't die.
Everything that I felt, praise the Lord.
Anyways, that's it. And you know, I'm not even really mad. I'm just really disappointed. Chapter 4 has so many strong points that could have made this really, really cool. Dr. Sawyer being a pretty prominent and important character, working hand in hand with the prototype. The fact that there are still children down here somehow, and it's possible that they're still conducting these experiments all these years later. Garibay could have been a really cool stealth enemy if he ever fucking showed up. And hell, a lot of Doey's dialogue and split personality is kind of neat. But at this point, dude, I'm just so over it. I am so tired of this series having so much potential and only slightly exploring the concept. You didn't fall out of a coconut tree, Poppy Playtime. You are part of the context. You're bigger than the concept. Why do you do this? You had the perfect villain, a direct underling that works almost as an equal to the prototype. You got the cute, scary lab dog. Hell, I guess if you want to keep the smiling critters, fine. Funny gag. It's just smiling critters, but they're evil. If you want to make your bag Fine, make the toys. As if you guys didn't think that Yarnaby was enough, I would buy this, but I just draw the line at the stupid Doughman. You know what it is? Doey just tonally clashes with everything else that's going on down here. It just feels like he belongs in the game station, not down here with Dr. Sawyer. I mean, you got a mad scientist with organs in a computer, a chain chomp dog, the garbage pail critters, and clashing with everything else is just Patrick Star with bipolar.
The inner machinations of my mind are an enigma.
Okay, I think I've shat on Doey enough. We all get it. He's ass. What's more important here is the fact that this game was broken at launch. Enemies not being where they're supposed to be, puzzles breaking so you have to restart the area to fix your mistakes and try the puzzle again, instructions not being clear as to where you're supposed to go or what you're supposed to even do, characters just being frozen in place after leaving certain checkpoints, new characters that the community loves upon reveal are being killed off with no fanfare and just completely wasted. It's so much fluff, man. There's so many cool things in this game that are just being held together with painter's tape and a prayer. It's just a complete waste. A waste of cool ideas, waste of potential, waste of my time. And I think that's really what sums up the problems for a lot of people who aren't fans of this franchise. It just seems to be too confused with what they want to do. Do they want to have like true evil villains that are actually terrifying, or villains that are only slightly scary as to not scare their child demographic? Do they want to have compelling lore that you discover through the game or discover through ARGs and extra content? Do they want you to have to care about 50 plus characters or just the main 5 killer toys that actually are supposed to matter? Do they actually want a compelling story or do they just want to sell you shit? Poppy Playtime does everything right, everything wrong, and nothing at the same time. It's like someone threw a bunch of cool ideas together into a blender, forgot to put the lid on, and then just expected the mess that spun out to somehow make a compelling product. The concepts are there, but none of it sticks together. You've got a horror game that doesn't really want to be scary. You've got a story that pretends to be deep, but feels like it's just kind of throwing a bunch of random nonsense in there, just like the game station, and then the play care, and then the prison, which suspends the belief of like how any of this is supposed to be even possible. It wants you to care about the lore, but it also hides all of the lore in ARGs that no one fucking participates in or talks about. It wants to be this dark, tragic narrative about cruel experimentation and the loss of innocence, but oh wait, here comes another plushie with glittery eyes and a marketable backstory. The entire game just feels like an ad. Every chapter opens with an ad for the toy that's the main face of the chapter, and it's kinda a cute gimmick like at first, until you realize that that's what Mob wants you to do. Buy their merch. They've made merch of every character, even insignificant characters like Poe the Toucher or the Pianosaurus that just dies immediately. There's no trust in the audience either. Every deep moment is undercut by lazy writing, and every mystery feels like bait for YouTube theory videos by MatPat, not meant to be something actually solved. And again, with the characters, there's so many, and yet none of them matter. You either get a vague, tragic backstory crammed into a collectible tape, or a jump scare, and then nothing else. It's like they threw in 50 character designs just to see which ones went viral so they can make merchandise out of it. And you feel that missed opportunity constantly. That's what makes this frustrating. It's not even that bad of a game. It's a game that could have been great, but it's just kind of okay. There's so much creative energy under the surface, but instead of making something cohesive, they went for maximum virality. No core, no heart, just marketable monsters and a lore that is thicker than the fucking Bible. And it sucks because there's a lot about Poppy Playtime I still really like. The setting is creepy, there's a strong foundation for horror, the music is actually really nice in this game. Sometimes when it happens, Poppy Playtime nails its atmosphere. The long, quiet halls, the emptiness of this giant place, the graveyard, body of toys, the human remains that just pile up the deeper you go. It's a really nice touch, and it always feels like you're being watched by something, and I love that. It keeps me on edge while I'm playing, and I've already praised some of the monster designs. They're fucking awesome. I get why they caught on and became marketable plushies, and even if I think the grab pack mechanic is kind of corny in lore, I think solving puzzles is actually pretty fun. There's ambition here. Misguided? Like, absolutely, but you can tell that they're trying to build a bigger universe. They're throwing a lot at the wall, and yeah, most of it slides off, but every once in a while, something sticks. A visual hits just right, a memorable character that you actually care about, gameplay moments that make you feel smart for solving and pushing forward. There's this glimmer of like a deeper world buried under this pile of toys, and if someone ever just bothered to dig it out properly, it could actually be compelling. Which is why I am now going to proceed to dig through every VHS tape, collectible file, the ARGs, random ass videos on Mob Entertainment, and watch a bunch of theory crafting videos to try and understand what this game was trying to tell us. I've been holding this off for far too long. Let's finally discuss the story of Poppy Playtime. Everything I'm about to discuss is information I've gathered from lore-related drops in-game, as well as sideline ARGs, and information from Project Playtime, a game that does canonically exist in the Playtime universe, but is mostly just Mob's attempt at a Dead by Daylight clone, so we're not really gonna touch it. If you're ever curious where I'm getting my information from, the source in-game or within the ARG will be displayed in the bottom left of the screen. With that being clarified, let's finally begin. In 1930, Elliot Ludwig created Playtime Co. with the intent of entertaining children with his signature lineup of toys. The formidable years at the company were troubled with personal affairs in Elliot's life. His wife Mary divorced him due to the excessive amount of time he'd spend working at the factory. And then, in 1960, Elliot's daughter passed away.
An unfortunate family death had pushed Ludwig down to his lowest. But with so much ambition, he rose back up and continued to fulfill his vision for the Playtime Co. toy factory. Ludwig could never be content leaving a project unfinished. But just how did one man come to create such an astounding empire? How did he manage to stay determined even after suffering such a tragic loss?
Grief-stricken by the loss of his entire family and devastated by the death of his daughter, in his grief, Elliot turns to folk tales of a poppy flower having the ability to resurrect the dead. Playtime Co. was struggling to manifest into a large-scale toy company, as Elliot was still invested in the rumors of the poppy flower. So, he begins experimenting with this idea through animal experimentation that would garner little to no results. His pursuit of science would see him begin the Young Geniuses program, which recruits Dr. Harley Sawyer, who proposes that instead of trying this whole poppy flower resurrection thing on animals, why not use human test subjects instead? This is what would later bring the beginning of the Bigger Bodies Initiative, which would see, in its beginning stages, the birth of the prototype and Poppy herself. Elliot infused the toy with important body parts of his daughter, including her brain, heart, and soul. He also infuses this toy with the sense of a poppy flower, as again, he believes the flower had the ability to bring back the dead. Surprisingly, this works, and we know this is the identity of his daughter through a self-recorded tape in Chapter 4.
I wish you were here, Dad. I could really use one of your talks right about now. You'd know what to say. When you were running this place, you always knew what to say. I miss you.
During the 50s, Elliot teams up with the Warner Bach Construction Company to build Playtime Co. Hired in 1955, Thomas Clark would start working as a typical line worker in the factory, but by the 1970s would become a pediatrician in play care. We are first introduced to Thomas Clark in this video. Restricted Restoration is a tape that documents Thomas's transformation into a brawn toy.
6 months ago, he was diagnosed with terminal lung cancer. Now, Mr. Clark, of sound mind, has volunteered for this experiment.
We have eyes open.
Can you hear us, Thomas?
1199 displayed much more disorientation than we expected. Subsequent mental testing metrics were also cut practically in half. It's just conjecture on my part, but I don't believe he knows where he is or what's happened to him.
Thomas was the first batch of employees to be hired during the rise of Playtime's empire, and the start of all of the children's care initiatives. However, Thomas was diagnosed with lung cancer and willingly took part in what we now know as the Bigger Bodies Initiative. The Bigger Bodies Initiative was a series of experiments which began in the 1990s. It was the proposed idea of Dr. Harley Sawyer to put the bodies and souls of people into giant mascot versions of the toys sold at Playtime Co. The idea of this was to combat the ongoing decline of Playtime's profit margins, as well as accidental sightings of the failed experiments going on there. Before infusing children into toys on a mass scale, testing consisted of trying to revive animals, more specifically using rats during their test. We know this is the case based on a note found on Elliot Ludwig's desk. However, scientists were failing to yield any results for these attempts of resurrection. Based solely on namesake, the prototype was the first of the Bigger Bodies experiments to start using humans. It wasn't until Poppy's creation was it decided to take the orphan children that they were already housing in the playcare and use them for resurrection experiments with toys. Seeing Poppy as the confirmation that these experiments would continue, the prototype would at least attempt to interfere in their plans, perhaps in an attempt to stop whatever created him from manifesting on a larger scale. The first of these rescues by the prototype was Theodore Graham Bell, the child test subject that would later become CatNap.
Experiment 1188. First conversation. All right. Hey, Theodore, how are your days going down here? I haven't visited you for a long time. How are you? Okay. Listen, CatNap, you may not have gotten used to your new body yet, but understand, this is now forever. That boy named Theo is no longer there. You should get used to it, because it'll be better that way, won't it? Okay.
In Leith Pierre's computer ARG before Chapter 3's release, we find a transcript submission of a phone call between Thomas and Joel Sinclair, another Playtime Co. employee. The transcript reads as follows. Thomas. Hi, Joel. We need to talk. I'm still trying to piece everything together. That would make two of us. Do you have an update on Theodore? Last I heard, they were loading him into an ambulance. That was about half an hour ago, I think. He's alive and at the hospital, but that's all I was told. I guess that's something. Do we have any idea what happened to him? The paramedics said that he was electrocuted. Current stopped at his heart. My goodness, that poor kid. I saw the burns as they were wheeling him out, but nobody knew what was going on. Something about sneaking out of Home Sweet Home and trying to open a maintenance door out of Playcare. He had somehow gotten his hand on one of those new grab packs and a green hand attachment. Either something malfunctioned, or he just made a mistake. He's 7. How would he know what to do with it in the first place? We're not really addressing the elephant in the room here, are we? Are you suggesting what I think you are? This imaginary friend of Theodore's? What if that thing is what he's been talking about? I don't know. He's always been a bit odd, hard to get a read on, but that? They found a second grab pack by the maintenance door, and that door needs 2 people to open it. This is the only thing I can think of that makes sense. Okay, that's strange. I hadn't heard about that. And it dropped him at my office doorstep. I saw that thing with my own eyes, Joel. It was, well, I don't know what it was. But it and Theodore were working together somehow. Maybe you're right. Either way, I'm glad security stepped in to get things under control. You have any idea what they did with that thing? Not a clue. I don't want to know, to be honest. It's sure not going into my briefing for the rest of the Playcare staff this morning. Speaking of which, I should probably go. It's crafts day today, and I'm gonna need a good few minutes to put my happy face on for the kids. If you do get any more information on Theodore's condition, will you let me know? Of course. Thanks, Thomas. I'll check in with you around lunch. This would explain the worship CatNap practices for the prototype. The prototype was trying to use a grab pack to help Theodore escape, but they were unsuccessful and Theodore would later become, well, this.
power of joy soon will be free.
That's, scary. But unfortunately, in our hands, you are completely under control. Our eyes are on you, mate. Humble yourself.
Sometime in the late 50s, Doey the Doughman was created as a mass-sold toy. It wouldn't be until later in the timeline would the giant mascot version be put through the Bigger Bodies initiative. As the 60s rolled through, this Poppy maintenance video would put the Poppy experiments with Elliot's daughter around this time, based on its release date being between the 50s and the 70s. The Make-A-Friend machine was built by Elliot in 1960. The idea was that visitors in the factory touring the facility would see how a toy is mass-produced and take one home as a sample. But it has also been theorized that this was used as a catalyst for orphans to be paired with the toys that would later become their new bodies. Hence the stress of importance in the manufacturing room in Chapter 1. Nobody leaves without a toy. In 1961, Brawn the Bronchiosaurus was the best-selling toy, and then Boxy Boo, which is the character in Project Playtime, came around 1966. During this time, Elliot starts up the Young Geniuses program to recruit more STEM majors to help in conducting their animal resurrection experiments. This is where Harley Sawyer was recruited and then later proposed the Bigger Bodies initiative. As time would go on, Elliot and Harley were starting to resent each other. In a letter found in Chapter 4, it appears that Elliot had actually removed Harley from the Young Geniuses program due to lack of humanity and only caring to make scientific progress and not how people would feel about the process. Scientific progress should always be the benefit of humanity. Progress made simply for the sake of progress often winds up hurting us more than it helps. I've tried to temper that into you, as I once had to temper it in myself. But it became clear to me that such intrusions on my part only incited your anger. You finally lashed out at me one evening and stormed out of the lab. "Don't be soft, Elliot," you said. "Progress doesn't care for how anyone feels about it." I knew immediately that you were wrong, but I wasn't sure what to do. What could shift your thinking? In the 1970s, they created Yarnaby as part of an initiative to bring awareness to wildlife conservation. This was when the Warnbach Construction Company was fully signed on as the official contractor for Playtime Co., helping build the infamous Playcare and founded the Adoption Initiative. Aside from pioneering kids' entertainment through toys and the whole resurrection scientific discoveries thing, he also wanted to house orphan children. And by the 1980s, Ludwig himself would make Playtime Co.'s most popular toy, Huggy Wuggy. He also later created the Grab Pack as an aid to help himself work around the factory as he ages, but the Grab Pack ended up being so convenient for him that it just became the whole company's tool. Following the creation of Huggy Wuggy was the female variant, Kissy Missy. Catbee and Pugapillar were actually a part of a popular toy series that came out in the late 80s called Swapimals, which is exactly what you think it is. It's hybrid animals with swap body parts or whole-ass bodily makeup of other animals. Rowan Stahl is a character that was introduced during the Project Playtime ARG. He was the head of information technology at Playtime Co., brought on in the late 80s. He's also taken reference to in this employment confidentiality letter that was sent to creators during the ARG, where Rowan writes to his mother that something awful happened and to get to the computer and follow an IP address. "I had to bury everything. It might seem like it's not there, but it is. I know you can find it. Look deep. You're going to see things that will scare you, but you have to look. There are lives at risk. People will die. As soon as possible, take everything you find and go to the police. This needs to end." This letter is dated 1991, when the Bigger Bodies initiative was officially launched. But before that would officially begin, the train was built in the factory to travel to and from locations in the ever-expanding factory. And then, the Smiling Critters were released as a new toy line in 1989. However, As shown in this news opener for Chapter 3, something would occur that would cause a mass recall of the CatNap dolls.
This is CatNap. And like the others of his line, you just pull his little tail and... seems innocent enough. However, parents across the country report their children experiencing strange and often violent nightmares. And beside them, their little, grinning CatNap doll. Now, with controversy growing, Playtime Co. has announced the recall of all CatNap toys from the Smiling Critters line. His image cleared from all promotional material. But damage already done, will disappearing be that easy? The exact cause of these incidents still unknown. Only one thing appears glaringly certain. Your children are not safe with CatNap.
This would later be coined as the Smiling Critters incident. After the incident, Leith Pierre hired a private investigator named Gerald Lockhart, another character found as part of the Chapter 3 ARG. He orders that all past recruits of the Young Geniuses program be tracked down and recruited back to Playtime. This would see the return of Dr. Harley Sawyer and the beginning phases of the Bigger Bodies Initiative, and the prototype attempting to help Theodore Graham Bell escape. Theodore had been telling staff like Joel Sinclair of his imaginary friend that they've made reports on, requesting Stella Graber to put Theodore in special counseling. Stella Graber is actually first debuted all the way back in Chapter 1, where we find her recruitment interviewed on tape.
Being able to work at a toy factory, somewhere that can provide kids with that same experience? That's a pretty great feeling too.
Stella was a line worker that worked up the ranks of Playtime Co. to become head of the game station and play care. In many recorded conversations, Stella seems obsessed with the idea of the preservation of youth in children and bringing them that same joy she felt as a child playing with her toys. In this orientation notebook that was released as a real book that I read for the sake of this video, god damn it, Stella is described by the author as a very odd individual. Like, weird even by Playtime standards. There's a tape somewhere of an interview she did where she talks about how you can't stay young forever, and then compares people to trees. Apparently she's like that all the time. You know, as a grown-ass woman who also collects little toys that bring her joy and also has a personality that would be described by others as odd, I feel a bit targeted. A point being that Stella has overseeing power of the experiments and knew all about them, but seemingly didn't have an issue with it due to what she believes would save so many lives.
No, the project lead, Dr. Sawyer, wasn't sure about giving you that information in the first place. He thinks your affection towards those kids could be a liability. What do you think about that?
I took this job because I wanted to help change kids' lives for the better. Of course, these procedures are far from ideal. I cried like a baby when I read them, but I started looking past the here and now, started looking down the road a bit, and that's when it clicked. What your researchers can do down here will someday help a lot of people out there, including so many kids. That's a bigger and better change than I could ever have hoped to make. That's a change I want to help make.
Right, okay girl. Part of the project requires killing children. You know that, right? By the 90s and the start of the Bigger Bodies Initiative, Elliot Ludwig would pass away from old age. From all accounts, I think the only engagement he had in the whole Bigger Bodies Initiative was just bringing his daughter back and creating the prototype. It seems that after Dr. Sawyer was pushing for more human toy experiments for the sake of science, Elliot removed him from the company. There's been theories that he is the prototype, but this is highly unlikely. From outsider appearances, Elliot Ludwig left a legacy of toys that children adored, and also trying to provide homes for those same children who he tried to bring smiles to every day. He did it in his daughter's legacy. He did it because he realized all the time spent away from his family was him neglecting to care and love them like he should. So he tried making up for it in his work. And it seems after his death, that's how he was remembered. Even with what was done to her, Poppy still misses her dad. Despite the fact that she's stuck like this because of him, she still loves him. However, this positive reputation was one that Leith and Harley seems to have ruined.
Fresh news this morning. As of 9:45 a.m., local authorities report that the body of a young boy has been found on the estate of the late Elliot Ludwig, an esteemed toy maker and originator of the Playtime Company. At this time,
Sometime after Elliot passed away, a body of a child is found in his estate. It's theorized that the likely explanation was that Harley planted the body there out of spite for Elliot letting him go all those years ago. With him being recruited once again by Leith, who had since then taken up as head of operations, the Bigger Bodies Initiative began under his management. Part of the initiative was selecting worthy candidates for specific reanimations. The game station fronted to test the children's reactiveness, intelligence, and mobility. They would select kids from Playcare for either adopting out or being tested on. This can be seen during the Hartman incident tape. Stella is still heading adoptions at this time, and when trying to adopt out a young boy named Jeremy to a Mr. and Mrs. Hartman, she's surprised to find that the boy was sent to testing instead.
I understand you want to give Jeremy that home?
Yes, and we would like to adopt.
Amazing! You'll be perfect for... Oh.
What?
Well, it appears there's been some complications.
Complications? What kind of complications?
I don't know. The form says testing.
What does that mean? Tell us, what does that mean?
Miss Graber, we deserve a better explanation than that. Don't you think?
You're in charge of all this! How could you not know?
And why are we only finding out about this now?
I don't. I'm sorry.
She sounds surprised here, but given her position as head of daycare and game station, it's very unlikely that she's not sure what happened to Jeremy. She most definitely knew. Boxy Boo was one of the first of the bigger toys to be created, who would then later kill Rowan Stahl after the company targeted him specifically for speaking out against Playtime Co. It was around this time Thomas Clark was diagnosed with lung cancer and willingly signed up for the Bigger Bodies Initiative. Pianosaurus would soon follow with an entire band of dinosaur instruments, but the Bigger Bodies Initiative deemed their test with this toy line a failure. August of 1990, Yarnaby was next in the initiative as Experiment 1166, with test subject Quinn Navidson. After Yarnaby was Experiments 1170 and 1172, Huggy Wuggy and Kissy Missy respectively. November 1990, the procedure of Theodore Graham Bell into Experiment 1188, CatNap. By 1991, Playtime Co. creates this safety video. This is basically an instructional guide for employees. Although what I think is so funny about this video is the Huggy Wuggy fursuit they created for this, and the fact that he pulls out a Glicky.
Hey yo, why does Huggy Wuggy got a blicky?
Originally, this was found as part of Rowan Stahl's computer database during the Project Playtime ARG, but now is fully available on Mob's YouTube channel. Lower staff would start lashing out at this time to attempt to slow down or stop these experiments that weren't known to all the staff there, but the ones who did were starting to lash out at the company. With CatNap's successful reanimation, he was tasked to watch over the Playcare to help children sleep at night, with a red smoke that would knock them out and have them relocated to be experimented on. By the 90s, they had launched the Longlegs family line of toys and created Experiment 1222, Mommy Longlegs, from an orphan girl named Marie Payne. One of the counselors of the daycare was named Claire Harper. She is seen in drawings by another child named Riley, whose corpse was found in the prisons in Chapter 4. Claire was Marie's mother figure and caretaker who first appeared in the Chapter 3 ARG, begging to have her child back.
I wanted to talk to her, see how she's doing. I really need to hear her voice right now.
That would not be advised, Miss Harper. There are many concerns we must address at this time. But vitals show normal, and we'll continue to monitor. She'll be okay.
No! Well, pardon me if I'm not comforted by that. Just bring my little girl back to me.
She had also written in an incident report of a frequent occurrence of nightmares due to Marie's overall exposure to the red smoke.
CatNap had the red smoke in the room.
Then suddenly, there was this scream. Nightmares happen, I know, but this, dilated pupils and quivering lips. The way her eyes darted around the room, and I swear, her hand in mine, it felt like her blood was boiling beneath her skin. She saw something too. Something horrible. I'm sorry. I don't mean to. Miss Harper, we'll provide the very best care we can offer. You have my word.
Sometime in 1990, a video was recorded that can be found in Chapter 2 of Jimmy Roth, head director of marketing at Funtime Co. This appears to be an interview where he talks about his successful marketing strategy to put Playtime on top as one of the best toy companies in the game. On February 20th, 1991, a cross-department report shows the progress made with CatNap at the Playcare Center. We get interesting details about how his transformation took 4 hours longer than expected. Comments from Stella show the children were initially scared of CatNap, but have since warmed up to him, as his nature is very calm and friendly. Although she still seems to have reservedness about this whole project, she ultimately sees it as a good thing. Keith is also noted in reporting the relationship between CatNap and the prototype. On March 21st, 1991, a Playtime worker named Marcus Brickley reported to Leith Pierre sightings of some sort of large entity with lots of legs as he left work that day, indicated that most of the staff had no idea that the Bigger Bodies project was even happening. This included Rowan Stahl, who tried to make Leith aware that Huggy Wuggy seems to stare at children and slowly move his eyes to stare at visitors, indicating that Huggy may either have a hidden camera in their eyes or that they're alive. And when Rowan wouldn't let up this internal investigation into the company, they sent Boxy Boo out to kill him. Rowan was the first of many later to be victims of the Bigger Bodies toys, as he was killed for getting too close to learning the truth. He attempted to expose the company by means of uploading everything out to the public, but Playtime Co. intercepted and shut down his website, erasing any information or mentions of Rowan as part of their company. It was by June of 1992 that living toys began escaping the factory, with Huggy Wuggy attempting an escape and killing 5 employees. And this would keep happening. Huggy running around in the woods, ending up in a suburban neighborhood somehow, tours being cancelled because they just kept getting out, and even an incident that would later happen in 1993 where Boxy Boo set the company theater on fire, killing 66 visitors. This would happen so often that Leith had to consider what they were going to do, as the blame on this was on Harley Sawyer, who at this point was just starting to get negligent in keeping these things contained because he wanted to force them to act out for science.
He doesn't listen to any of us. Not really. Not anymore. And he's behind schedule. Playtime may have turned a corner financially, but that doesn't change the fact that his Bigger Bodies initiative is still a money hole.
The guy's gotta go, Leith.
Sawyer can't keep leading this project.
I'm not disagreeing. Huggy loose in the woods, that business with CatNap, the whole Stoll thing.
And half a dozen other incidents.
Right. And all of that pales in comparison to the theater incident.
So, what they ended up doing, instead of firing him because he is the head scientist and they still need his big old brain, was knock him out and take all of his essential organs and hook them up to a giant computer to do the bidding of Leith Pierre. During a tour date in 1992, a young boy named Jack Ayers and his family are invited to a factory tour, where tragically, Jack would topple over the railing and fall into a dough vat, killing him. This inadvertently results in Jack being used as the consciousness to bring to life Experiment 1322, alongside 2 other orphaned boys, Kevin Barnes and Matthew Haylard. However, Kevin in this incident report was labeled as a troubled child with severe behavioral issues and outbursts of rage.
Before said interruption, I attempted to detail the subject's condition and overview the suitability of one Kevin Barnes in relation to Project Doey. The neural abnormalities noted in Dr. Newman's report are detailed in connection to behavioral issues demonstrated within Playcare. Trouble getting along with others, aggressive and often confrontational social tendencies, and an otherwise combative nature clearly relay that Kevin is, put simply, a problem child. What friends he does have, he's reported to have attacked in moments of intense play. These tendencies raise concerns. The subject excels in all physical tests. Reflexes, reaction time, and mental fortitude all tested well above average in game station examinations. So, in spite of said concerns, in Dr. Sawyer's eyes, Kevin is ideal for the project.
So, when fused with Doey alongside Matthew and Jack, he fights as the dominant anger in Doey that would make him act out in violent aggression. For whatever reason, Playtime Co. thought it would be a great idea to invite Jack's parents to reunite with their son as this giant Doughman.
Jack, I want you to know, I'm so sorry. I've never forgiven myself for what happened. I've played it all back 1,000,000 times in my head, and I know there had to be something I could have done. I could have reached just a little further. I could have noticed a little sooner. I could have. But we have you back now. That's what's important. We can...
Who are you?
Jack? Honey, it's me. It's Mommy.
Mommy?
Yes. Yes! It's Mommy and Daddy. You remember, don't you?
Leave me alone.
Hey, you'll be okay, I promise. Mommy's only here to talk.
No, I don't want to talk. Get out!
Susan, I think we should leave.
Jackie, I'm staying right here. I'm not leaving you. Not ever again. Do you hear me?
The gentle voices lie. I know what they do. They lie, and they poke, and they hurt. Susan, get away from me!
Jack? Mommy won't lie to you, Jackie. Mommy won't hurt you. I'd never hurt you.
Hey, open this door! Oh, God. Susan! Please, open the door!
I assume because they knew Doey had a tendency to be violent, so this would be the perfect quote-unquote accident to get rid of a potential lawsuit. And life goes on for a bit, and a bunch of little collectibles kind of fill the gaps in between 1993 and 1995, but most of it is minor stuff, so now we're at August 8th, 1995. Harley was still upset over the whole brain-computer thing, so in secret, he'd been communicating with the prototype, which has since then been reported missing from the premises. In reality, they were communicating with Dr. Harley Sawyer to enact revenge against Leith Pierre, hence the Hour of Joy, where Harley gets his brain-computer bits on the Omni-Hand to override the security doors of the prison and let all of the toy experiments out and cause mass brutality.
Final log. In relation, Experiment 1006, the prototype. Coordination and cooperation is evidently within his skill set, as well as the skill set of all other experiments of his type. Though still missing, today's events are no doubt in relation to him. His absence was a flaw in the scientific process, which should have under no circumstances been left unaccounted for. That's why I'm making this log, so that the same mistake won't be made twice. Any future experiments will need to be contained and disposed of in a secure location. I'm not worried about myself. One breakthrough and I'll be back. We must forge onwards in the name of science, whether those who are beneath us understand it or not. End of...
This mass death would give the toys a source of food, as they dragged the bodies down to the prisons and started cannibalizing them. But then, 10 years later, as you, an ex-employee, returns to the factory, the food source has depleted to the point that the toys are now eating each other. Harley Sawyer was still trapped in a computer beneath the factory, and the prototype had made an alliance with certain bigger body victims to sort of become the de facto head of certain sections of the factory, those who didn't align with the prototype hide and safe haven, alongside Poppy Playtime, who had bared witness to all of this. She tried to form a sort of escape, but was captured and put in a box for many years, until you, the player, showed up, kickstarting this entire journey ahead.
You opened my case.
And that's it. That's the entire timeline as it is presented now. All found in collectible hidden items, random tapes that you can miss entirely, random ARGs that no one fucking engaged in at all, and a fucking kid's book, because I guess FNAF made their storytelling convoluted and ridiculously hard to follow that it just kind of became the standard, I guess. Chapter 5 plans to be the finale of the series coming in 2026. But even without this final chapter, I can say as someone who did more research into the story than I think was humanly necessary, I can confidently say, this shit is fucking complicated, man. I don't know how anyone managed to piece this shit together. I mean, I got it, eventually, but with this whole Geniuses program and the bigger bodies thing, but apparently this was something that happened before with Poppy, so she wasn't part of the bigger bodies thing, but she was just the template for the program, and then it was Harley's request that they use live humans, but Elliot had already used a live human with his daughter and then stopped the whole thing for whatever reason, and we don't even know what was going on with that dead child's body, by the way. That just never got resolved at all. And like, why did they think that using 3 test subjects for Doey was a good idea? Why didn't they have security to knock out the big toys during the Hour of Joy, even though they had the tranks needed to get Huggy when he escaped? They just conveniently didn't have them then? Why, as an ex-employee, are we even here anyways? And why does Poppy trust us at all? Does she know who we are? Why are some of the bigger bodies violent and why are some not violent? What determines that? Because I'm pretty sure this is Kissy Missy right here. Is that not? Do the children used for this experiment not remember who they once were? Did they just remember that they were human, but some don't act like they do? Why are the children held at the play care but also held in the prison sometimes when they're being sent for experimentation, even though I thought that's what the red smoke and keeping them at the play care was for? Why didn't Elliot kill the prototype after firing Dr. Sawyer if he thought that his pursuit of science was whack? Why is Stella seemingly so cool with all of this? What happened to Leaf Pierre? Because according to a lot of evidence, including after the Hour of Joy, where they tried to get some of the toy parts out, but were chased out of the factory by the bigger bodies, so Leaf is actually still potentially alive, making the Hour of Joy revenge plot fucking pointless. And there are so many minor human characters I didn't even talk about because straight up, nobody cares, I don't care, I want to go to bed. With the final chapter looming in the horizon, it's only a matter of time if this game will end on a high note. But given that most of the original team has since then quit Mob Entertainment, there's a good chance that this isn't gonna end as satisfyingly for anyone. With the 4th chapter getting a negative perception from fans, I don't know what would have been done in order for the finale to be impactful or restore faith within the fanbase. I hope for the sake of those who still really like this franchise that I'm wrong. I'm hoping for my own sake as someone who really liked Chapter 1 and 3 that I'm wrong. I'm saying this as someone who likes some of the horror concepts in this. The monsters, the puzzles, and the gameplay. I hope this can finally end on a good note. Because I still really like Poppy Playtime. It just feels like being in an abusive relationship at this point. One minute it's the best boyfriend you've ever had, the next minute it's beating you over the head over some petty bullshit. There was just so much potential here. I still think there is, but I just don't know anymore. And by the way, this is in no way trying to insult anyone over at Mob Entertainment currently. The animators, the game developers, the designers, the artists, everyone who is trying their best, I hope you guys get more work in the future. It's not that you failed to put out a good product, it's that your product is riddled with so much controversy and messy garbage, bloated with merch, plagued by development issues, and weighed down by storytelling that never fully came together. While the horror community was initially excited, that excitement has mostly turned into disappointment or apathy. It's not that people wanted Poppy Playtime to fail. Some still really like it and argue it deserves its place as an indie horror icon. And although I'm not going to write off Poppy Playtime entirely, unlike some people whose reasons I think are petty and stupid, I think that so many players just wish it was more. And we did get a jumpstart to the heart with Chapter 3 holding nothing back and giving us some really effective moments and scares. But sometimes I look at the moments that I loved in Poppy Playtime, and I just wish that level of quality remained consistent. And by the end of it all, what could have been a really cool story about Frankenstein-esque resurrections and human experimentation and mass child death is all kind of just disregarded in how messy everything else is. Maybe the finale will surprise us. I don't know. As of right now, it feels like Poppy Playtime has really forgotten what made their first entries so appealing. They've forgotten everything that made them stand out, and that really sucks. But hey, if you still like this, I'm not here to judge. In a way, for me, it's certainly a love-hate relationship. Maybe I'm just too old for this shit. Maybe I've just played so many better indie horror games like No, I'm Not a Human, or Mouthwashing, or Faith, the Unholy Trinity. I guess this kiddie indie horror, mascot horror, something made for kids is actually scary thing is just something I'm growing out of. I don't know. Maybe I'm just getting old. I mean, I'm 25 now. I probably shouldn't be writing a 40-plus page script about a fucking kids game. Let's be for real. The end.